Hello.
Okay. Hi.
We got Stooge,
everyone.
Starla, and the Goat.
I'm the goat. Most people call me Ghost Goat, but all my friends just call me Goat or the Goat.
Hell yeah. I should check to make sure I'm not streaming. It says I'm not, so we're good. But I totally did warn you guys not to press the start streaming button, and then that's exactly what I did. But there's two. There's the green one, and then there's the normal one. And the green one starts it immediately. Thankfully, that's not the one I clicked, so we're all good on that front.
So, I am the first Stooge, but you can call me Stooge. It's just what I go by, and you've seen me probably on Twitch streaming around. One of my 26 as of now followers. So
you're really dating yourself with that.
Let's go.
I just carbon printed this recording, so if I look back on this.
Oh yeah, no, you're 100% gonna look back on the intro and be like, "What were you talking about? Who cares?"
What am I talking about?
That's Starla. Everybody probably knows her the best because of the YouTube and Twitch stuff.
Yeah, I talk about Shrek
right here on my screen. Yeah, she did talk about Shrek. And I am Ghost Goat or the Goat. My online presence consists of drawing pixels.
Yes, he's the pixel man. He's the one who pixels.
I do all the pixeling.
Sick. What shirt are you wearing?
It is... I think it's like a skateboarding company.
Is it?
It's called it's called Arsenic or something, so...
That's pretty
I don't skateboard at all. It's just very comfy material.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's good to be comfy. Comfy's good. Connor's got his Autobot thing going on here.
Well, that's my actually. Yeah,
you even have the colors with the cardigan.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
I'm wearing a whole new shirt too. This is literally a new shirt that I got that I'm wearing for today.
Let's go.
Got a lot of good colors here.
Hell yeah!
Don't forget. Try to focus on the part where I'm not wearing pants.
Oh. Holy fuck, welcome to the Three Stooges.
Before we get into it, how about we just have a little bit of small talk, get into a casual kind of flow. Before we, started this recording, I was originally gonna use a, my Canon EOS camera, but the cable wasn't working, so, I had to go all the way to Best Buy and buy this webcam that I'm using right now.
What time was that? I didn't see what time you were texting the chat.
I think it was around 11:45, 12 o'clock-ish, literally an hour before, because I get up early, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have lunch, I'm gonna test my camera, and then I'm gonna get ready to record this stuff. Okay. And then it's 12 o'clock rolls by, and my camera's not working, I'm like, oh my god.
I'm gonna need to turn off my AC real quick, because it just turned back on its own. Shut up.
Oh no. Are we keeping this bit in?
See, this is why cutting is good. This is why it's good that we're all recording it. No, we're not going to cut that. We're just going to cut me getting up. Because it started running, and the mic was picking it up really bad. I don't know why this mic has become really sensitive lately.
Oh, yeah? If it's anything, I couldn't hear it on my end.
Oh, so. It was... The OBS was picking it up like mad.
Damn. But, yeah, so I had to, drive all the way over to Best Buy, fucking get a mic, or not mic, get the camera that I'm using now.
What webcam did you grab?
And then, it was a Logitech webcam. Yeah. It's working pretty well.
It looks pretty good. You got good lighting and all that too. Not bad. We're both using Nexico cameras from Amazon. The ones that I used for college, yeah.
Nice.
It's funny, I actually didn't originally intend to buy two webcams. The webcam that Stooge is using was the first one that I used, and it was really laggy when I was in the Zoom meetings. So I bought a newer, more expensive one, which is the one I'm using now. And then I found out that I could have just gotten the camera application and just increased the amount of hertz that I was using to get rid of the lag. So I essentially ended up spending an extra $60 for nothing. But A, it was a better looking webcam. And B, I did initially want to start all of my streaming stuff while I was in college. So getting something that was at least 1080p on a good day was it was a wise investment. I made many good decisions at the beginning of college that kind of culminated into what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And now he gets to use the extra webcam too, which is really helpful.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes. fate do be a thing.
Speaking of fate, how about we get right into our topic today?
Yes.
Yes, the topic for our first ever episode is us discussing Deltarune.
These three dumb fucking stooges are going to be talking about Deltarune.
Yeah, these three dumb fucking stooges are going to be talking about Deltarune.
Deltarune.
The world needs to know our opinions.
I'm trying to get my nieces into Deltarune because they're really into Digital Circus and FNAF, and I just feel like Deltarune, or at least Undertale, is kind of in that grasp.
I completely agree, actually. As someone who is into Digital Circus and FNAF, I am also into Deltarune.
Avery's going as Pommy for Halloween.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that she's got the whole outfit and everything.
You should get them into Hollow Knight Silk Song next.
I have to play it first. I gotta play Hollow Knight.
It's fun. It's a bit tough, but it's a fun game.
Is it tough like Dark Souls tough though, where it's like kind of bullshit?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of like
platformer games growing up with Flash games, so I feel like I'd be able to grasp it.
Probably, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of, it seems, trial and error with it, but it's the same with any platformer game.
Mm-hmm. Now,
so
you
for
two
the top...
know a little bit more about Deltarune than I do. Sorry, I just totally interrupted you. You two know a little bit about Deltarune more than I do, so I feel like you two should lead at least this particular topic, just because, like, I feel like you guys are a lot more well-versed into, like, Spampton sweepstakes, and, like, the Noel files and all of that stuff. I don't know how deep we're gonna go today. I know that we discussed talking about like the
theories
music
and stuff like that. That was gonna be like
the weird route and all of that. But I'm more of an observer, and I just kind of like talk to you guys about it. So I feel like you guys can lead this particular episode, and I'll just be yapping.
Yeah, so we should probably let anybody listening or watching this know spoilers ahead for Deltarune.
It has been a few months now since chapters 3 and 4 have released. I've been seeing tons of stuff on TikTok and all of that. If you still haven't gotten the chance to play the game, or at least you still haven't gotten the chance to explore seasons or chapters 3 and 4, you know, maybe wait a little bit to watch this episode, or don't. Maybe just leave it at like 1% volume while you do something else, and then that way the views still count, and we still get the watch time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like chapters 1 and 2 are free as a demo, so if you want, you can grab chapters 1 and 2. Yeah, 1 and 2 are free.
1 and 2 are free as demo.
Why don't we start from the beginning then? Why don't we start from chapters 1 and 2, and then that way, you know, we can get to the point where when we start talking about chapters 3 and 4, that's when we put like the big spoiler tag. And maybe we can like, when you're in the editing program, you can set it so that like you can set like a chapter in the YouTube setting, and then that way people can skip over it if they need to.
Well, I know that we each have different topics we want to talk about. Do we plan to talk about each topic as how it would relate specifically to the chapter that we're on, and then
we should have planned this out a bit better.
No, I mean, I feel like
perhaps
the whole thing with this is that we're already naturally good at carrying that conversation. So I feel like
true. Well, the thing is, if I'm talking about something that's a fairly big like topic, I might just take from examples of that topic from, say, the later chapters. It might be a bit difficult to isolate that to just like, oh, we're talking about, I don't know, music, and so you only want to talk about chapters 1, but maybe you really want to talk about how things change in 3 and 4, and maybe you don't want to wait until we're at that.
Like lore-wise, and kind of like what we know so far from everything.
That makes sense. I like that.
So if we're gonna start from chapter 1, how about we hit with like a little overview of what the whole plot of Deltarune is about, and what happens in chapter 1, and then we go on from there.
See, it's Deltarune because it's about the Deltarune. But Undertale was not about the Undertale.
But the Deltarune
was in the underground. But the Deltarune is not a delta in the rune. It is one thing.
No.
There are,
but there isn't like one RuneScape.
I don't know if we're gonna get into it, but there are layers even just to just the whole Undertale Deltarune, like what connection they have.
I feel like even now
there
I would
are layers.
Say that it might, like, I don't know. I always feel torn about it, but sometimes just with the fascinations and like lingering theories with Deltarune, I feel like I would consider it to be, if we're really going up like objective, better than Undertale. Because Undertale is a complete story. And there's a lot lingering with Gaster and all of that, but Undertale, depending on whether you go like the pacifist route or the what's the other one, genocide route?
Genocide or neutral.
I guess
or like,
because
one
of
the
how
10
layered
neutrals.
Deltarune is, Undertale kind of feels like a walkthrough of sorts in terms of
Sort
like,
of.
the layering I mean it was the first one to come out, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Also, Undertale is a complete game in and of
Yes,
itself, whereas Deltarune is
But I just feel
actively
like
being worked
Deltarune has
on.
had so many different layers, even from like chapter 1. I don't consider like chapter 1 and 2 to be better than Undertale, but if I had to think of like one or the other, I think 3 and 4 has kind of put it over.
Each one not only adds like another layer, but each chapter, even stuff specifically in chapter 4 alone, has added context to things going so far back as even Undertale, and being like there is one line of dialogue in chapter 4. I don't know if I want to talk about it right now, but one line of dialogue in like a secret area that changes the context of so much. And it's 3 words.
Driving in my...
No, it's copies. Copies are monochrome.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Because
that's interesting.
There's certain NPCs you can find in Undertale depending on what your fun value was, which every game generates a random number, and that number determines certain encounters. Those NPCs and certain places you go, or at least just the NPCs and the door, if you manage to get that one, are monochrome. But in the recent Toby Fox 15th anniversary Undertale livestream, the door as one of the potential events showed up, but it was not monochrome. It was normal
brown.
color.
Yeah, it was brown.
Fucking by it.
and in the DLC, not the DLC, sorry, in like the description of Undertale on like Steam, it's like when you buy Undertale, it's like every copy of Undertale comes with like all these characters, and people are realizing that the term is a copy of Undertale.
See,
what they're playing is presumably the original.
Was with the Pope. It was buried with him. We all know
exactly.
this. Matt Pat got a hold of it.
It was too powerful.
Manpack gave it to the Pope.
Yeah.
No, but the Toby Fox Undertale live stream is so funny to me because like he added so much personal content and just did not explore any of it.
Oh yeah. Just walking by like new areas with new backgrounds, possibly like doors you could enter, just walk by it. Don't even mention it.
I really want to see how Jevil fans felt seeing Spampton at Grillby's. I really, because there's been so many, I've seen it. I've seen so many Jevil fans get hella upset with the attention that Spampton has been getting, and I totally get it because Jevil was the first. But like, I really want to see their reaction because when I saw the clip of him at Grillby's eating the fucking like giant butter or whatever the hell was in his
No,
mouth.
I think it's a fry. It's a giant French fry. I think it
even
is.
Better.
I think it is.
I was like, oh, Jevil fans are writhing right now. I can tell.
Have you seen the Sprite for the burger? Because it was a voting poll thing, right? Between the fry and the burger.
Oh yeah.
And you can find it. The giant burger Sprite is so funny because it's just a long burger.
That's like a Subway sandwich.
But with that being said, yeah, let's start with the start and start with Deltarune Chapter 1.
Let's start with the start.
Like moment 1 is already intense because Deltarune originally was like called like something program or whatever when you like ran it, and you're given like this Earthbound-esque background which is just completely unique and alien to anything that we've seen, even now 4 chapters in. Talking to someone, like connecting to them.
Speaks to you, asking if you're there, and tells you to create this vessel. Only for it to be thrown away and replaced. No, yeah.
That's because your choices don't matter.
Which was a very heavy theme in chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great because that like from moment 1, not to keep butting in, but like Undertale's whole thing is that like your choices did matter. Deltarune from moment 1, from like start to finish of chapter 1, it sets itself up as being so polarizing to Undertale, where it's like, no, your choices don't matter.
At the same time,
maybe they do.
Yeah, at the same time they kind of do because you can basically change very key parts of not even just the story, but like the plot by whether or not you go through certain routes. You know, like certain elements can be changed whether or not you're a pacifist or whether or not you go down other routes. Wink wonk. Like
your
whereas-
choices definitely affect things in the game. Like for example, and this is getting into spoilers, Castle Town becomes funky when you're like sparing all the people, and like even when it's not,
I
it's
love that theme.
the regular old depressing town that you first find in the state later in chapter 1. I think, knowing what we know from chapters 3 and 4 now, the choices don't matter thing is recontextualized for me from being not towards you, the player, but directed as something towards Chris.
That makes sense, yeah.
Which
that's another whole layer. Is anytime you make a choice in dialogue, depending on how certain NPCs react, determines whether that's something that Chris would naturally say versus something that they are seemingly being forced into saying. Which, like, you add all that together, there's layers upon layers. Like it's crazy. But they, like, moment 1, you wake up and there's Toriel there. Everyone knows Toriel. Everyone loves Toriel. You know, the best goat mom. And she sends you off to school. There's a school. There's buildings. Like the music builds, and you're going through the town, and there's all these characters, and there's Undyne and Napstablook and all people I don't know. What? Like from
like
moment
models
1.
that were kind of not really all that significant or like only seen once in Undertale are now civilians that you grow to know from walking around, like in between.
People that you meet and learn about in hometown who have their own lives going on, and then so you drive to school where you get hugged by Toriel and dropped off at your class with Dr. Alphys, who isn't a doctor but a teacher. And the whole premise, the whole plot that's set in motion is you have to find a partner for a group project. And originally, before Susie comes in, you talk to Noelle, and she says she's a partner with Birdley, but she'll ask Alphys
to make an exception. Because there is an odd number of students in this class. There are 9 desks, and you made a partner program.
I don't know if she can do math in this world.
I don't know.
I feel like she's kind of your English teacher that you only get along with if you're like the same vibe as her. If you have an entirely different vibe than your English teacher, they fucking hate you. And I feel like that might be the kind of teacher Alphys might be. Although Alphys doesn't really hate. She's more so, like, scared. Yeah,
just kind of generally awkward.
Yeah, and before you can go to become partners with Noelle, that's when Susie comes in and becomes your partner.
And that's when her theme starts playing, and it's like...
Yeah, and she, like, eats the chalk and
because you gotta find Shock.
Bad Mama Jane.
Because Susie's gonna be your partner, and then Alphys is like, oh, there's no chalk, and then you go and get the chalk, and then Susie assaults you in the hallway.
That's rude.
And threatens to kill you.
That's I mean, she does threaten to eat your face, so.
Also, a choice is taken away. A choice is taken away not just from the player, but also from Chris, where Susie asks you a question and then answers it before you can pick an option. Finishes.
She goes, "It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
None of it matters."
Which is just further reinforcing that point.
And then what happens is this leads you to going to the storage closet, where it is so dark you fall into a hole.
And then that Ocarina of Time
effects. The fucking young Link Ocarina of Time effects when he goes like before he starts falling.
And he fell.
That's crazy.
Chapter 1 is very simple in its plot, very solid foundation. It's sort of like the your classic fantasy world, like
it's a
never-ending
prelude.
Story in the closet kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Remember
it's a prelude to the more.
When people were like, "How can he think that this is a full game?" I remember seeing posts like that all the time when Chapter 1 came out. They were like, "How is this supposed to be the next Undertale? It's like not even that long."
Yeah, it's like a short game with like less content and.
Rousing! I hardly know.
And then he revealed that this was Chapter 1 of 7, and people were like, "Okay."
Oh my god, more chapters?
Yo.
I remember we'll get to that when we get to chapter 2.
Oh, I almost want to run through chapter 1 to get to the others because, like,
I feel like chapter 1 is
so
becoming
good.
a little bit less significant as the chapters go on, which makes me suspect that there's going to be a little detail in chapter 1 that matters in like chapter 7.
I mean, hey,
potentially.
You can only get the original
can I actually share something
Skywalker
that I found out the other day?
in Act 1, chapter 1.
About chapter 1?
Yeah.
There's no spoilers. I mean, it might be, but it's chapter 1. So, you know how Rousey doesn't, like, show themselves until he takes off the hat at the end of chapter 1?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys know it's not the hat that's covering his face?
It's not.
No,
Wasn't it?
because there is an animation of when you use an item where he takes the hat off and he still retains that shadowy form.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
So, like, is he using, like, magic or something?
It could be that. Well, it could. What people are implying is that that wasn't originally Rousey's form, and that when he took off the hat and revealed himself, that was the spell.
That he had, like, spent enough time with Chris at that point to, like, gather enough
Yes.
information, maybe,
Because
to then
that's not something
acquire that form.
Toby Fox would leave out. He would not leave out an animation of Rousey taking off his hat and still retaining that original model.
Like if there is a PNG outside the game of a fucking banana, that will have relevance at some point. Nothing that he does is
Beyond the milk.
unintentional. Like that's the thing where people will like post Toby Fox will post a PNG. Or a weird remix of a fucking Toy Story song,
or like the Persona
and
thing, the carpet,
yeah,
which actually turns out
people
to show off the climbing animation from chapter 4.
Yeah, and I think that the house that he uses is used in the Dark Zone fight. The fight.
Oh yeah.
The green outline, that's the house. Like he'll post the weirdest shit and people who aren't in the fandom will see the fandom blow up and it's like, what's important? And it's like, we don't know, but it's gonna be.
But it's house like carpet.
It's carpet?
Yeah.
What could this be? Is the carpet the night? Anyways.
Yo, carpet night theory
Carpet
confirmed.
night theory, holy shit. But yeah, I noticed that the other day with Rousey, and it really intrigued me to see that, like, the hat comes off.
I actually didn't even know that.
Shadowy thing, and it's the
I didn't
same
even know
animation
that.
they would have taking off the hat to like use an item.
That does make me wonder if Rousey had like
Well, Rousey's whole
corporeal
thing is,
form.
Yeah, Rousey's whole thing is that they're not a person. Rousey doesn't believe that they are a person, that they are an individual, because that's the whole Darkner thing. So
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe,
like, I don't think it's outside that Rousey would choose that form to make Chris happy, and that's not actually Rousey.
Well, I think maybe that is Rousey, because he takes off the hat because he's trying to say that he's like gonna miss them, and then it happens. I think that is Rousey going from being a formless figure. Well, no, I don't even know if it's necessarily spelled, but it is an example of Rousey becoming more than a Darkner, where he is now being given form, even if it is the form based on something, you know, someone that Chris misses. Because we see in later chapters Rousey being more independent. Oh, absolutely.
But
I think that along with Rousey's idea of Darkners and Lightners, maybe Rousey is becoming a Lightner in some way, like changing as they become more of a person.
We can get to this. We can get to this in chapter 4 though, because in chapter 4 there are a lot of like
there's so much
thematic elements of Rousey becoming like finding more individuality.
Yes.
But continuing our journey through chapter 1, we meet Rousey, the Prince of the Dark. We go through the tutorial to learn how to fight and how to spare and all that. Lancer blows him up. We
with
meet
that
Lancer.
classic like explosion PNG that he always uses. It's my favorite.
And going through, the whole plot is really simple. You have to get to the end and seal the Dark Fountain at the card castle.
There's a castle, magical forest. Go through your castle, seal fountain. Easy.
However, going through the playthrough, getting to Card Castle, you will come across the question mark room in the elevator. And that's where we find what I believe to be the first layer telling us that there's something more to this game than what's being shown. Because that's where we find Jevel from the Amazing Digital Circus.
Yeah. day after day.
Yeah, because they're like there's good character interactions in between, like, you know, Susie and Lancer teaming up. There's a lot of character stuff, but there isn't really too much. It's all surface. But Jevil and his dialogue, even now, has become more relevant, even with some of his lines, like "Hell's roar bubbles from the deep," you know, which, considering what you can hear if you talk to Onion-san in Hometown later throughout the chapters, he can hear something coming from the lake or the ocean, something like down below. And he would have talked to you about it in chapter 4, but he can't because a certain someone is blocking the spot.
Wait, really?
Okay. I don't know if we want to necessarily go off on a tangent.
We'll put a pin in
it.
Yes,
absolutely.
I'll write down on my phone, someone's blocking this Onion-san.
Yes.
Someone's blocking Onion-san.
Well, technically that NPC is blocking more than Onion-san, but we'll get to that as well.
So, what I want to talk about, and like, this is... Jevil is a perfect place to start with what I want to talk about regarding Deltarune, is the music.
Yeah.
So Undertale, probably one of my like top 10 games of all time, definitely sitting in the 6 to 10 spot. Deltarune also sits up there as well, but in like the 2 to 5 spot.
Shit. Okay.
Even though it's an unfinished game. And a big part of that for me is because I view Deltarune and Undertale as sort of like musicals, in the sense that a big part of their storytelling is the music and listening to the themes and the leitmotifs that show up.
Leitmotifs.
And Jevil is our first case of one of the most interesting leitmotifs to me, that being the freedom motif.
Freedom. The leitmotifs ever since Undertale, like... Undertale was kind of my first big introduction to leitmotifs, but it's mainly because while I had heard of leitmotifs before, Undertale was the first one that went so far. Like, there's a video out there that has like 200 songs from Undertale that shows the connection between each one, how many contain certain leitmotifs at what part. Hearing everyone like, oh, what's that? Waterfall is slowed down. It's Undyne's theme. It's Spear of Justice, just really slow and like changed. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean all of these? What do you mean it's all connected? Like, I'd heard of leitmotifs before.
Because Zelda likes to snag a lot of themes. Like Windfall's theme from Wind Waker is actually just Kakariko's theme. Like even Windfall's theme goes like, oh god, I can't think about it off the top of my head.
Well, that's always how it is. The moment you want to think of something, it's not there. It's in the furthest spot of your mind.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh yeah, it's the part where the song goes like dun dun da 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 da. That's literally Kakariko from Ocarina of Time.
Da 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 da.
So like, Zelda has done a lot of leitmotifs, or even Kakariko is saved having the courage motif, which is Colin's theme.
Aw,
that
I love
pops
that.
through a lot. And, you know, like the heroes motif is in a lot of things too, or even like the dun 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 dun, also being Vidna's theme in the main theme. Yeah, Zelda was my first introduction to leitmotifs, but I feel like with Zelda, it's always kind of just been like oh, I remember that. That's from this game. Like, it's rare.
Yeah,
they're more so meant to be references and less to be like plot. Like sometimes there are plot importance, like Sacred Grove having Saria's song in there to show you that this is the same Skull Kid from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
And that's why he's like playing with you. Also, the whole puppet things, which I don't even think links to anything, but they kind of run on the same strings as like the Skulltulas that used to hang around the Lost Woods and all of that.
I think
also the fact that young Link turns into Astolfos in Twilight Princess. But Deltarune, I feel like, took it a step further by making the leitmotifs not even just like a reference, but plot important. Like, if you hear it, you know that it's not just like oh, that's the boy motif. It's like, oh shit, this means I have to pay attention.
There's one example that I can think of when we did our first playthrough of Chapter 3, and it's when we went into the S rank room, and like at one point we and like the a real boy theme played where it's like da 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 da, and you were like, you freaked out because
we both stopped because like you were
because we recognized the notes.
Hold on a fucking second, because I'm the like Tanner and I we were band kids, so we listened to that shit. That shit computes in our head. So when I heard it the first time, I was like, shut the.
And it's not just the leitmotifs; it's the fact that like it's because like music by itself is, you know, an orchestra isn't just one instrument; it's a bunch. It's not just the music; it's the fact that Toby takes like the writing, the designs, the world building, and ties everything together like a spool of yarn, where it's not that the music itself is good, it's that these leitmotifs, these themes, carry over not just through the way that they make you feel and the themes that they represent, but to the characters themselves, to the point where when you hear that, like, what is it, like 8 notes, like da 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 da, you hear that, and you think not just to the theme, but like I've heard that before, the significance of that, the character it's tied to. Yes. What is this character's tied with this current character in chapter 3? Like, it's like a bomb. It's like the biggest
motif of all time in this franchise seems to be "Don't forget."
Don't forget, and it's like how could I forget, Toby? How could I forget anything? These characters are gonna live rent free in my head till I'm dead.
So yeah, to me, all of the like the music, especially everything that Toby Fox has done. You like when chapter 1 was coming out and that was just what it was, nobody really seemed to realize it, which is fair because it was just chapter 1 at the time.
Also, sorry to butt in, I keep doing that a lot, but even Jevill's lines didn't have a lot of context to them. They just seemed like, well, he's rambling about something. Like, what does any of this mean? There's a lot of retroactive stuff that happens, but at the time, he just seemed like this odd, chaotic element, not really placed. Even his placement in the elevator was seemingly disconnected from everything else.
Everything, though, is clearly intentional, and there was a point to all of it.
It's a box.
Which makes me lead into my second piece of topic about Jevyll. The visual theming of his boss arena.
That it's like a carousel?
Yes, and we'll continue with the secret boss stuff, and then the theming around it, because Jevyll has a carousel as his boss arena. What's that theme? What's the point of that?
His theme is the world revolving, and you're revolving around the carousel.
We do learn, I think in chapter 1, but I know for sure by the end of chapter 2, we do learn that there is a festival that's happening in Hometown that I believe chapter 5 is going to be revolving around.
Chapter 2, we learn that. It's I think it's the conversation at the end on the couch with Susie, because she's like, that's the festival's coming up, where the whole town turns into a carnival.
Didn't we hear in chapter 1 that Azriel's coming back for the weekend because of that?
Yeah, we do hear that Azriel's coming back from college.
Toriel says that on the drive up, where she's like, oh boy, I can't wait till Azriel comes home from college, which is and that's right before like the real theme hits, where it's like da 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 da, and then you're going through, so already like, chapter 1, like, I understand that it's become less, that's just...
Deltarune!
My Deltarune!
My heartstrings.
What? What are we gonna title this episode? 3 Idiots Glaze Deltarune?
It might as well be.
Oh my Deltarune!
Oh my Deltarune. My precious Deltarune. God, I don't even know what that's.
Whole thing, that's a lot going around on TikTok right now. Is that Gaster's the one saying "my precious Deltarune"? So I feel like that would be.
Yeah.
Gaster is like a whole thing to of himself. I almost don't want him to show up. I almost wonder if it's not actually him. But at the same time, every character.
That happened with FNAF, where we didn't really want to find out Cassidy's name or something like that. There was something with FNAF that people never wanted to be solved. The box,
I don't know about
the box.
I think it was Scott Cawthon who was like, I'm not going to open the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he had an idea of what was in there, but some things are better left unsolved.
Yes.
Yeah, so you fight Jevyll, you fight him again because, honestly, hardest boss fight in chapter 1.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
then eventually you get the Dark Shard, I believe it's called, or like the Dark Crystal?
The Shadow Crystal.
Shadow Crystal. And you're like, what is that? We still don't actually know what that is.
No, but when you look through, but when you hold it up, it's like you can see through your hand or something, which I think implies that it's like a mirror, maybe? It can, like, see through things?
Yes, and like, see the truth, because I'm pretty sure when you lift it up, like, you interact with it in the dark world, it shows the classroom that you're in at the end of the chapter.
There's...
Yeah,
Okay.
there's, if you interact with the shadow crystals during your playthroughs, that describes how you briefly glimpse into, like, in chapter 1, it's the empty classroom, and in chapter 2, it's the computer lab in the library, and then in chapter 3, it's, I think, the living room.
That makes sense.
But with that,
Yeah.
you beat Jevil, and then after that, you're fighting the king from Card Castle.
Yeah, you fight Spade King.
You seal the Dark Fountain. You hear the guitar play that little bit of da-na-na, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Don't forget.
And then you don't forget.
Everyone
And then
can
you're in the
forget,
classroom
and
with
there's
Susie.
There's gonna be things
Well,
that
actually,
you
you're
don't
not in the
understand.
classroom. You're
That
in the
is,
spare
like,
classroom,
They didn't say
which...
anything about this, and then the entire entire subreddit thread is just gonna be don't forget, you forgot, bitch.
Well, somehow you wind up in the spare classroom, which has a door in it. It's kind of weird because it's connected to the other hallway opposite to your classroom, but there's a door in it, which I guess people thought connected to the supply closet, or...
Well, that makes sense to me.
Although I don't think it connects with the supply closet. I think that is just the closet to that, because so far every dark world we've gone to or will go to until chapter 4 has a closet space or some large space within the same room where the fountains were created that could probably fit a large person, from what they say.
Also, the door that's always on fire that can bring you to the different sections from the chapters is the same door that Sans had in his house in Undertale.
That
has the
yeah,
flames underneath it.
I don't know if that's ever going to be explained as to why that.
Well, I think there's a theory behind that
maybe
that
it
is
will.
Definitely hella supported with one of the. I think was it a chapter 3 or 4 that don't say it, but is it chapter 3 or 4 that has that title that's linked to Undertale's song as well? Maybe something about the weather in particular.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, chapter 4.
Chapter
That
4,
is in
okay,
chapter
yeah.
4. But before we get to that, is there anything about, like, hometown after the Dark World experience that we want to talk about, or should we just keep going? Because I know I have a couple things I want to mention.
You, when talking to people, including Sans, can talk to him like you know him. Chris does not know Sans, as far as I know. I don't know if Chris was just born yesterday.
like
he
he
might
does.
as well have been, because
No, he's had a whole life.
okay, he has had a life, but there are these dialogue options when talking to people like Undyne and Sans, specifically the Undertale 1 characters, where you can interact with them as if you, the player who had previously
soul.
played Undertale, can be like, hey, Undyne, where's your armor? Where's your spear? I don't know if you say something like that, but I think you talk to her about, like, and she's like,
Undyne, you a
magical
lesbian
spears,
yet?
armor? She's like, what, magical spears, armor? That's absurd. And
I
it's
already
like,
Have you
know her.
dated my
oh,
teacher?
but the fact that you're even given an option to do that, as we'll find out, the soul, because when you hover over an option to select it, you select it using the soul.
Yes.
You, as you are, as the player, let's just say, your entity inside the world is the heart, the soul at Chris,
That's
and
also
the center of their
supported by
being.
something Goat pointed out to me when we were doing a replay through of chapters 1 and 2 to get ready for 3 and 4. Goat pointed out that when it's the fight from Susie to Lancer, the soul actually comes from, like, the top corner, which is where
where the
Chris
jail
and
cell
Rouse
is.
are in the jail cell. It doesn't pop
Yeah.
out from, like, the side. It pops out. This is gonna look weird because it's actually over here when we mirror it later. But it comes
Oh,
in
yeah,
from
it's gonna
the
look
side.
weird.
It comes in from the side when Chris is there, but when it's just Susie, it comes from, like, the very top corner, which is I never noticed that until he pointed it out, and then I started looking for it.
Yeah, it's fascinating and something that does, in fact, come up in later chapters.
Yes.
does.
One NPC I want to talk about from the end of chapter 1 is Alvin. Alvin Boom, who in chapter 1 is standing in front of the church. Very insignificant in chapter 1, I think.
Yes. You also know with Gerson Boom, as if you recognize that his name's Alvin Boom, his name's Alvin Boom. son of Gerson Boom, which when you can go and check the graves and you'll find certain characters from, or at least
Undertale.
Probably not from Undertale, but they're Deltarune equivalents, that being Gerson, one of the dogs, because I don't know if we see Dogami and Doggeressa. I don't know if we see them.
Snowdrake's
mother.
Parent. But yeah, the most important one there that I want to talk about is Alvin, because we learn from chapter 1 that Alvin Boom is the son of Gerson.
Oh yeah.
With that being said, we head home after interacting with the people in hometown, and we have a good night's sleep, only to be met with a final cutscene where we watch Chris as they climb out of bed, pluck the soul from their body, throw it into a birdcage.
Rip it. They jab their hand into their chest and rip it out.
Oh my god, yeah,
so
it hurts. It hurts. It hurts.
Gritting.
You can hear them taking damage too. You can hear the damage.
Yeah, it's the damage sound.
And then they reveal a knife that they've had on them this whole time.
Also, if you try to move around while that's happening, you as the soul can move around inside the cage, which also further cements the fact that yes, you are the soul. You are not Chris. Which my first point was actually going to be about player agency, or Chris and the relation to the soul, as well as player agency. Because in most games, you play as the character. You are whoever it is you're playing, whatever choices they might make in a cutscene, regardless of whether you'd want them to do that. You take control of them during certain sections. But taking that idea, Toby has this way of taking concepts and making them literal. Like an example in Undertale was, if you play an RPG and you kill everyone you come across, citizen or otherwise, would people not be afraid of you? Would you not be able to acquire ultimate power? I mean, if you're in an RPG where you can cast spells, attack things, would your determination, as they say, to control or destroy, would that not manifest itself in the case of you being stronger? Even Char at the end of the game.
Final Fantasy X, you kill tons of soldiers. You go around killing monsters, but there's an entire segment of the game where you are being thrown at soldier after soldier after soldier, some with actual guns, some with literal flamethrowers, and when you defeat them in battle, the Fireflies don't rise up because they're humans. They're the only enemies in the game. Usually when you kill a monster, Fireflies rise because the monsters are actually disappear. Human souls that you're saving. But when you would kill the soldiers, that doesn't happen. They fall back or they fall forward and they just fade. And they fade to black. And you can just keep attacking them and attacking them. You could potentially kill hundreds of soldiers on this line. And it's never really mentioned in the game that you and your characters have literally committed murder. You're in the right, and you find out later that the government and the military was kind of corrupt, but you still murdered people, and it's just kind of we're gonna blame this on other people though. You killed people, and it was televised that you killed people, but actually it was the Al Bhed. It's not really mentioned in it.
The intention of not using the normal monster defeat effect as opposed to them is a very literal choice to try and evoke that emotion and show that it's different. Whereas in Deltarune, not necessarily breaking down stats or anything like that, you in most games play as just a character. You don't control them in cutscenes. But in this game, it's it just takes the concept of you're controlling the character to you're controlling the character.
Yeah.
Do they want you to be controlled? Are you saying the things they'd want you to say? Taking what is just basic video games 101, you control the main character, and taking that sentence and extrapolating on it and extracting from it, you play a video game, you control the main character.
Yeah.
You control the main character, and just taking what is such a simple everyday concept that you put into a game and without even thinking about it, that's just the default. That's what video games do. It's what they've always done. And just taking something.
I'm controlling Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, he says things Knuckles, you fucking idiot. And then it's whoa, Sonic.
Yeah, showing that there's taking what is normally just such a basic fact of just video games and how things are, and being like, let's expand on that. Let's make that into something. Sort of like how in Undertale where you keep killing monsters, and it's like, no, there are none left, but nobody came. There's no music or anything, because why would there be? Where there's no fanfare, there's nothing. There's no one to fight.
Yeah.
There's no interaction.
What I find fascinating about the cutscene at the end of Chapter 1 is it shows us that Chris is their own individual person. And I don't think that's something many people really touched upon or grasped by the end of Chapter 1. And we learn more about in-depth in later chapters that they are their own person in
even just in Chapter 2, mostly with Noelle's dialogue referencing past events with Chris that helps paint a picture of who they are as a person rather than what we assume. There's also the teaser at the end how he like holds the knife out and he looks all evil and sinister and leaves you wondering. A lot of people also looked at the red eye and thought, is this Chara? Is this the evil? Because at the end of the genocide route, if you bring your game back after waiting long enough and restore the world and then do a pure pacifist, it will end with, like, depending on your two choices, either the main cast get like killed off screen and they're wiped out of the photo, or you live with Toriel, but then your character like shows the face of Char with like the red eyes, and then there's the laugh that they use for like the Omega Flowey fight, and it's like how if you do a genocide run where Chara destroys your game and closes it at the end of it, if you then open it, there'll be just the sound of like wind and like a black screen, and if you wait for like 10 minutes, Chara, I believe, because the way the dialogue is kind of written, contacts you and is like curious. You want things to be brought back despite like, this is what you wanted. You destroyed the game. This was your goal. And you can bring it back, but it comes at a cost. Doing a pure pacifist from then on will not yield the same ending, because Chara brought your world back.
I didn't know
you
that.
You let her have control.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why at the end, when there's the photo of all the people standing around you, all their faces have red X's over them except for you, and it's Chara standing there instead of you.
It's fascinating because Deltarune, there's kind of an inverse there, which we will get into, where instead of it being Kara taking over your control, you are taking over the control of Chris, who I think is the stand-in for Kara in this world.
Yeah, but also if you want to take it to a meta extent, the extent of like video game protagonist versus what the player as the protagonist wants, and the agency that comes with that.
With that being said, I think let's move on to Chapter 2, which opens up with Toriel coming into the room and seeing the knife, and we waited years for this, right?
Yeah.
Like, for anybody who is picking up the game now and playing it for the first time from chapters 1 to 4, there are gaps in between the releases of each chapter.
There was like what, it was at least a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. Like it was like 2 years at least, if I'm thinking correctly, because it was over a year between 1 and 2.
I don't know how many years. I think it's like a 2 or 3 year wait between 1 and 2.
I think it was like a 2-year wait between 1 and 2, and then like a 3-year wait between 2 and 3 and 4.
And so we were left for a long time with the cliffhanger of what is Chris doing with the knife. Yeah, why not? Let's double check that and see how long it took.
I don't know why. Sometimes Opera gives me the startup screen, and I don't know why. I'll close it the same way every time, but sometimes it's like, hang on a minute. All right, let me move.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
This. So Chapter 1 seemed to have been released October 31st, 2018. Chapter 2 was 2021. That's pretty long. So I think, you know what? I actually do remember. I was one of those people that like had to wait a little bit, because I think I do believe I remember when you guys showed me Deltarune and Undertale. I don't believe Chapter 2 was out. I don't
think so.
Because I think you guys showed it to me before you and I moved in together, right, Stooge?
Yeah. It was always that long ago.
Yeah, September. Well, we moved in here February of 2021. This says September of 2021. So I believe that. Or did you show me Deltarune when Chapter 2 was out? Because I knew about Undertale, I believed. Didn't I?
You might have known about Undertale then, because I think your first playthrough of Deltarune was when you had just moved in with Stooge.
Yes, okay.
So Chapter 2 starts, and we get the reveal to the 4-year-long awaited cliffhanger, and it's that Pris had used the knife to eat all of the pie.
He was just hungry.
We love a monarch.
He had that. He just had the late night munchies. He's like, soul be damned, I'm getting me some pie right now.
Confirmed I use they, them pronouns.
Yes,
Just
Chris
letting
is
you know.
Was that for me? Did I make a mistake?
Yeah, you said he.
I've been trying to subtly correct you during this entire recording, but
I had a pretty good run. I was.
You got pronoun
doing
in
pretty
your bio,
good.
you respect.
But
I might have been doing it too. I don't know.
So with Chapter 2, starts off fairly similar as you go to the school and you meet up with Susie. And just as you're getting ready to head back to the dark room in the storage closet, you meet up with Susie, and just before you go into the storage closet to the dark world to say hi to our favorite boy, Ralsei, that is when Noelle approaches you and Susie and says, "Hey, we're studying at the library. Do you want to come study with us?" And then you go study with them. And that is when we come to the library, open the door.
Well, actually, before that, you go into the new castle town.
Yeah, yes, right. I was just kind of speeding run through points. So yeah, feel free if there is anything that you want to talk about regarding Newcastle Town, feel free to interrupt me and let me know.
I'm just gonna drop that throughout the game as you're playing it. Enemies that you spare, Ralsei says, are recruited to the new castle town.
Yes.
And then you can see them both. You can select them both in the like cafe that's opened up, but they'll also just be like placed around depending on like which ones you've saved. Just thought I'd throw that in there, but you can continue.
Actually, no, pausing on the overview and actually talking about Castletown. Interesting fact. It doesn't matter how your run goes. All of the Chapter 1 monsters will be recruited to your castle town.
Yes.
It is from Chapter 2 onwards where your choices of recruiting affects how the town looks and evolves over time. But yeah, so you get the stuff from the old classroom, you bring it back to Castletown, and your Castletown starts out, and then you go to the library where there is a dark fountain. And that is when we get introduced to probably my second favorite at this point, Dark World.
Absolutely.
Cyber World. And this is where we learn
the Cyber World.
Noelle and Birdley as well are also in this Dark World.
Was there
with
a
Noelle
fountain
being...
when you got in there? Like when you go to the library, you open the door and there's a fountain?
Yes.
Shit.
There's not. Well, the fountain isn't. It's not the whole library. You go to the library, and then when you open the door to the
Noelle and Birdley are.
Yeah, when you open the door, you get that effect.
Happened? Or do we have theories? I imagine we do.
There are theories because I kind of not speeding through the chapter, but that room, just like the other classroom, has a closet door in it, which could fit a large person, as everyone seems to say whenever you interact with those doors, implying that someone may or may not have opened the Dark World from in the closet and opened the door, or walked in and did that.
We know from Queen's speech at the end of the Dark World that the Roaring Knight plunged a dagger into the ground and created the Dark Fountain.
I forgot about that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But yeah, we see that Noelle and Birdley have also been brought into this Dark World, and it's another classic adventure through this cyber world, seeing all of these cyber funky people until we get to Spampton.
I just want to slow down a little bit with the overworld and kind of talk about how big of an upgrade Cyberworld was to Chapter 1. Because Chapter 1, I feel like in its own way, was kind of a tech demo to what Deltarune could have been. And Cyberworld, or in Chapter 2 in particular, I feel like showed what had made Toby Fox such a big name. Because Undertale had really big things too. Chapter 1 had really big things, like the music upgrade with Chapter 1, like the overworld music, the boss music, the sprites, the animations and all of that, like even just the idle animations of like the wind blowing in Chris's hair and Rousey's hat and Susie's, like the way that the sound effects with her striking with the axe and all of that. Like there was already such a big upgrade with Undertale to Chapter 1, and then I feel like Chapter 2 really had Toby Fox go like, oh, you want more? You Toby Fox, you want more? All right, I'll give you more.
Hey,
like it was very
Toby Fox in here. I'm giving you bigger and grander scope.
Also, sorry, just to quickly butt in. Also, the other characters in your party being able to use acts on their own, as opposed to Chris being the only one to do that.
That is given to us
a ginormous upgrade, and that's what made me fixate on it the most. I do remember being slightly underwhelmed with Chapter 1. I was a little bit underwhelmed with Undertale initially too, but I think that was just because like my emotions were hella closed off at the time. I feel like if I played through it again now, knowing what I've gone through and how I've grown up, it would hit me a little bit harder. But I just remember being not extremely, but like a little underwhelmed with Chapter 1. And it was kind of like, I kind of had the same reaction that some people did, where it was like, oh, is this supposed to be like an upgrade to Undertale? I don't know how they're going to do it. And then Chapter 2 just changed my mind. Like, it just proved me wrong in its entirety. It was so expansive, so colorful. I still think it may have the best soundtrack out of every chapter. Like, it
does have a really good soundtrack.
It's so good. Like, it's just, and like the character models, the extensive combat, the story,
the puzzles, and a lot of the interactions in the overworld.
It was really good. It was such an upgrade, and that's what made me. And the fact that it was also free, I didn't even realize that was also free. I thought you had to pay for Chapter 2. To think that you could just experience that for free is wild to me, because that is just like you can't be an indie game lover and not experience Chapter 2 of Deltarune. Like that's just such an expansive thing.
Another kind of more significant character moment would be the fact that the only reason your other party members can do acts on their own is because Susie decided to do that, because when you fight Sweet Cat and Cakes, they you got to get them all dancing, but you can only dance with one of them at a time. And then Susie's like, well, let's just fucking dance. And Rousey's like, actually, we shouldn't do that. And Susie's like, happy feet,
well,
dumbass.
Let's fucking dance.
Yeah. And which that also, again, everything that is done in the game, adding, subtracting, is a part of it. And the fact that it's Susie that's the one that kind of breaks the mold, and because you even access it, it's not like they get the act box in their command bar. No, you go into their magic, and then it's now added in the act, as if it's and it's a different color too when you select it. So it's almost like that's been altered. Like Susie kind of broke the mold on being just a party member. Also with that chapter of them becoming more separate characters that can do things on their own instead of it always needing to be Chris, which that right there, not only is that just a really fun way of being like, what if other characters could act, to make the battles a bit more interesting, but again, tied in narratively and character wise with, having more freedom from Susie and also part of her character.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Everything that happens in any of these chapters, you can almost look at as having multiple connecting points. It's not just, it is on its surface, oh, that's fun. It is fun. But wait, there's more, because there's always more. There's always layers. I feel like Charlie from It's Always Sunny, when he's looking at the board trying to figure out who the fuck Pepe Sylvia is and why he keeps getting mail. Everything is connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I totally...
No, finish your thought.
Okay. Well, I was going to continue with the fact that, you meet up with Queen, probably next to maybe Spampton. Queen would be like the highlight of the chapter for being complete opposite to King. Showing up at the beginning, basically moment one in the Dark World, unlike King, who only showed up at the end, and being present all throughout as a force of her own with her own desires, not being an antagonist, but not evil, and being also understanding, and also just fun as hell. Get the banana. Acquire the potassium. Like, everything is done so well. But you're in her car. They get to a traffic jam, and then you go down an alleyway, and there's a certain little man in glasses pops out of a dumpster. Dumpster? Yeah.
Yeah, dumpster. And that is where you meet Spampton G. Spampton.
The best indie character ever created, ever. Maybe. I don't know. He's awesome.
He's little guy.
Enough to now be kind of canon to Undertale, which is so funny to me.
Who just
the fact that in every copy of Undertale you now know that he could be out there.
He could.
He'll be there.
He will be there.
He's a silly little guy who just wants to be a big shot and takes all of your chromer.
Yes.
And then later on, reveals himself to be the secret boss of the chapter. But before we get to that, before we get to that, let's talk about the routes.
Do we want to get into that now, or do we want to go towards kind of like from Pacifist to Chapter 4, like Pacifist Chapter 4, and then come back, so that we start from the kind of the beginning again?
Well, we don't really have to talk about Chapter 1 because nothing changes for Chapter 1.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, okay. So at a certain point, I'll say you can, in Chapter 2, split off into either one of two directions.
Yes.
The normal route and the weird route. For the sake of this, we will start with talking about the normal route and what that entails.
Or just call it the pacifist route, because I feel like... Or
yeah,
is
we can call it
canonically called the normal route? Because I feel like the normal route would just be like... my thing is that you can technically play the game normally while not recruiting people.
Yeah. So yeah, we can call this one, for the sake of brevity, the pacifist route then. So for the pacifist route, once you get to the split, you are given the choice to either go with Susie or Ralsei, which Susie decides you do not have that choice and takes Ralsei with her, entailing you to meet Noelle, who uses ice magic in the Dark World. And the pacifist route plays out just like how it played out in Chapter 1, where you go around, you solve the puzzles, you help Noelle get over her fear of mice, and you recruit all of the people that you meet. Reuniting again with Susie and Ralsei when you get to Queen's Palace, or Queen's Mansion, I forget which it's called, where she captures all of you and turns Ralsei into a butler.
Called Pandora Palace, if that helps.
Okay, I'm gonna call it Queen's Palace then. And at this point, you can do what you normally do. Get to the end of it, solve all of the palace puzzles, fight Rules Card, who shows up in Chapter 1 as well, but we kind of glossed over him because right now he's not important until he's like revealed to be the Roaring Knight.
Yeah.
But going out of the way, you can find the basement to the castle and a shut down piece of machinery.
Well, specifically, in order to get there, you need to buy the keygen from Spampton, who has a shop in the trash area closed for repairs, as he calls it. And
so getting the keygen, getting access to the basement, you get the empty disk, I think it's called, or like the empty data drive.
No, it's called the empty disk.
The empty disk, which Spampton uploads himself into, and then you plug it into the machinery, which enables access to the secret boss fight, where you fight Spampton G. Spampton, who is now evolved and become Neo.
Spampton Neo.
What I find fascinating about this fight, on roller coasters.
Yes.
And also he shares the Neo title like Mettaton Neo.
Yes, and this is even in his theme, because there are a couple of motifs that do play during the Spampton Neo fight theme. Within the boss theme for Spampton Neo, there are two important leitmotifs that you can make out. One of them being I believe it's the Mettaton Neo theme, and the other one being the Freedom motif.
There's another one, the dummy motif. Dun, 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 da, 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 da.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the significance or importance of that one is.
I know. I think does Napstablook have it too, or is it just dummy?
Think Napstablook has it.
Yes, Napstablook has that in Ghost Fight, and then later in Dummy, that's the theme, which is also in Spider Dance.
Because why would they have it?
Because they're connected to Mettaton in Undertale.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The house
yes.
that's Napstablook's house is Mettaton's house.
Okay.
So it's very heavily implied then that Mettaton, was the person that created the Neo body then.
Okay.
In the cyber world.
Oh, true.
And then
even in Undertale, Mettaton, Alphys made the body of Mettaton so that Mettaton could inhabit it, because it's implied that Mettaton is, I think, a ghost. I think is implied to be a ghost.
Really?
Like
Yes.
Napstablook. Yeah, who wanted to be real, who wanted to look different, to not just be that, and so was put inside of the body by Alphys, the square one. And then he shows off his new Neo body with the legs and the arms
are you
and
saying Mettaton is Napstablook?
No, Mettaton is a ghost.
Mettaton
and
is
I
a
think
ghost.
It's Napstablook's cousin?
Oh.
I think they're
okay.
cousins. Yeah,
That's kinda
but in
neat.
this world, you also find that in that body, it's old, it's decrepit, it's an old idea, and you can talk to Swatch, who is in the cafe, and if you ask him about the machine, he's like, "Oh, that's an old, discarded idea, like from a Lightner, like something that they wanted." And it's because in Hometown, it's the real world. It's not entirely fantasy. Like, it looks like there's technology. I don't know if there's actual magic in Hometown, but presumably in the real world, the ghost, that being Mettaton, who I think you can talk to at the door to his house, or at least it's believed to be him, I think seems a little depressed. So in the real world, the idea of Mettaton Neo never came to be. It was just an idea, a dream that he can't have because he's a ghost. Whereas in Undertale, that was more realized.
And then talking about the freedom motif, I really want to talk. I feel like I should save this for chapter 3 because I find the freedom motif's use in chapter 3 to be the most interesting.
Yeah, it's
but I really want to talk about the importance of the freedom motif to how all of the characters that we fight view their freedom. Not chapter 3, chapter 4's freedom motif, I mean. Mm-hmm. Because Jevil, when you fight Jevil, the way Jevil talks about the prison that he's trapped in, he claims that he has already found freedom. He's free. He's seen through the dark crystal, or the shadow crystal, right, into the real world, and I interpret it as Jevil thinks he is free from consequence. Whereas Spamton, because you beat Spamton Neo and you get the shadow crystal.
Yes.
Spamton, I feel like, has this whole theme of craving freedom, desiring more freedom that he can't achieve being a Darkner.
That makes sense too, because Jevil has the don't forget motif, but Spamton doesn't.
Yeah.
Implying that Jevil kind of knows or understands more because he may be free.
Whereas, and this is also reinforced in chapter 3, because there's a lot more lore about Spamton and his past of who he was, because all you know is that he used to be the email guy. He was like an email manager, like the other Addisons. He was an Addison. He was just, as they say, a little different. Or no, they say he was like us, just a little unlucky. He couldn't make it big until, well, I don't know if I should expand on that until we get to chapter 3, because there was something that happened in the light world that caused Spamton to meet someone else. I
think we can get into that with 3.
Yeah, we'll get into it with chapter 3.
But for even what you just know in Chapter 2, this idea of wanting to be something more, to stand up tall and see past the dark, as he says, which another reference to darkness, which is also another connection.
Yeah, during the boss fight, you can either attack Spampton as if it was, like the normal boss thing, or, and more accurately what I think everybody doing the pacifist run would do, you can try and cut the strings off of Spampton Neo, something that Spampton Neo doesn't realize you're doing until the very end of the fight, believing that cutting these strings will achieve true freedom. Which ultimately, when the last string is cut, leads to what we believe to be, at the time, Spampton's death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or at least his body shutting down, and then after the fight being rejected from that body, because you find him in his regular form, like against the wall, I think tangled in some of either the vines or the wires.
I thought it was implied that we put him there.
No, well, because
it just kind of fades to black, and then he's there, and we're already kind of standing there. Like, we don't really go to that location and find him there. We all appear there together. So I always got the vibe that because he was so dangerous, we fucking put him up there. Because why would he be separated
the
when
ending
he
of
went?
The battle?
Yeah, when he went into the disc, he was in that body, and then we just go and find his actual body in some things, and it's not something that we walk to.
I think those are more strings, because after he does give you his final words and transforms into an item to give you, not just his body, but the green strings holding him there also disappear, which I think implies that even after cutting all of them, they're a part of him. There's something he can't actually get rid of. What?
The disc was him. We put him in that body. Then we left. That's not where we put him. So why would there just randomly be another Spampton in an entirely different room in new strings?
I just imply that by seeing his eyes go dark, that he was rejected from the body after the strings were cut. The strings were powering the Neo body. Once they were all cut, it shut down.
I genuinely don't believe that we just found him in another room.
At the end of the fight, when he's wrapped up in all of the strings,
we cut the string. His body falls, right? And then it just cuts to us in a different room with him, his actual small body in the strings. In the green stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't understand why he would just be there when he was literally loaded into this disc, like that body and everything there was loaded into this disc, and we put it in that body in an entirely different room, and then all of a sudden he's in this room in more strings, and we just happen to find it. That's not where he was, though. He was in the disc. I think
that's a question. I'll ask Toby Fox personally.
Because that's what I mean. I always got the vibe that we took him out of the Neo, we took the disc, and we put him up there because, with Jebel, he disappeared immediately, and he left. But with Spampton, he didn't. So I always got the vibe that we put him up there and waited for him to wake up or something. Because why else would we get teleported over there instead of actually walking? We were in the roller coaster. Maybe they didn't want to animate us getting up, but it just doesn't make any sense to me that, we get the disc, we come back to his shop, he says, okay, I'm gonna go inside this now. We see it all pan down, his body and the shop's background disappears with him. We bring him over to this body, we load him in, we leave, he comes back to life, he falls when we defeat him, but then he's also over here.
Maybe when we put him in the body, that room was where he wound up.
But
maybe he was uploaded he was put in the body, all right, but maybe because it's he's puppeting it. After we cut all the strings and the puppet falls, it reveals that that's really where he was. He was only controlling it like a puppet. He wasn't actually free.
I just think that maybe it's
also, I don't know,
in the pixel art that we beat him.
Also that his strings are a part of him, that even though we cut all of them, they'll never really be gone, because that's why he's
Either way, you beat Spampton Neo, and you get the Spampton item, one from either the weapon from fighting him or the armor from
Either the puppet,
cutting the strings.
Yeah, the puppet scarf if it's a weapon for Ralsei, or the Dealmaker glasses as armor for Chris.
After that,
That's so
you
strange.
fight.
I'm trying to find out more about it just because it really hit me. Someone says if you edit your save file, Noel says that the puppet scarf feels like guitar strings.
Oh, interesting.
Oh
But
yeah,
no one's really...
that's another layer. You can give Noelle items.
How is no one talking
She
about
has
this? This is
dialogue
crazy.
for like every item that you can equip on her, even though it's not physically possible for her to be at those places to equip those items.
I feel like I'm
which
going
again
crazy
is just,
because none of this
it's
makes
more
sense.
extra dialogue that like didn't need to even be put in there, but is and has
It
significance.
genuinely just hit me right now that we don't like walk over there and find him. It's a separate scene and we're all there, which always made me think that we put him in those strings to kind of get him to calm down and so he wouldn't attack us again. Especially since like we don't really want to be having battles. We know that from chapter 3. That sometimes it's like, please don't start a battle. I
never thought about the implications of it because I just kind of always viewed it as, you know, like this is the post fight. This is to show that we've defeated him.
Maybe that's what he
I'm
transformed into.
And I'm looking too much into it, but I always saw it as they put him there because we literally put the disc in the machine initially.
Yeah.
And then we find his body.
Possible.
Yeah, that's what I always thought. I should make a Reddit thread about that to see what other people think.
So yeah, you beat Spampton, you get the item, and then you go through the rest of the palace to where you meet the queen, who in the pacifist route has Noelle tied up to a giant hand and lamenting about how there needs to be more darkness before you get into an epic Punch-Out style mecha battle with her. Very iconic. The music is amazing for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And it's just a really, really fun fight where at the end we learn about the roaring, which is something that neither us, the characters, or the queen knew about. Just Ralsei knew about the roaring.
Yeah.
And he explains to us that the whole thing about the roaring is if the world is covered in too much darkness, it creates titans that just kind of make your day
They're
awful.
bad. They're bad.
Yeah, they're bad.
See, you know what? You know what Tubby Fox is teaching me? Tall people are evil. If
exactly.
If you're like 6'5", sorry.
I'm justified in having megalophobia, is basically what I'm being told. But yeah, so we learn that the Titans are bad, and that if there's too much darkness, Darkners turn to stone, and Lighteners are very depressed.
Oh well, no, it's the reason they turn to stone is because they're not used to the darkness that's not from their fountain. If they go to other dark worlds, it's not the same darkness. It's
Castletown. Which
yes, because Castletown
has
Castletown, Ralsei says, is a fountain of pure darkness. Any Darkner can exist there and be just fine.
Okay.
Yes, that's what he says. Yeah. The fountain that is behind or above the castle in Castletown is pure darkness.
I forgot about the pure darkness line.
Yeah.
I think I know what that is too. Fountains are made by presumably Lighteners. We haven't seen a Darkner make a fountain. At least we're not sure yet. Now that explains why certain characters being in different worlds, they can't last, because characters in a certain world are based off of whoever made that cognition of what that is, them and other Lighteners around them. So if someone else who an item or whatever that you've never used or interacted with is in that world, they can't exist there for long. They can't. They're not supposed to be in there. That vision, that dark world there's no place for them. They don't belong, so they eventually turn to stone. But the pure darkness, because we don't know where that fountain originally came from. We don't know who or what made it, but its darkness is so pure that regardless, it lets all cognitions kind of exist there. All beings, all Darkners can exist there just fine. There's no emergency. And so that's also another reason why there's a desire to gather and recruit, because at the end of chapter 2, this is regardless of whether Weird Route or otherwise, if you don't recruit like anyone and you seal the fountain, you can talk to, you'll get none of the Darkners, but if you talk to Spade King, who's in like a giant like hamster cage or whatever, he'll say, he's like, don't speak to me. You left them there, didn't you? Like, implying that like, because you didn't bring them with you, they're gone. He's like, you abandoned them just like you abandoned us. Because that's what he talks about. He hates Lightners because he's like, you left us here. Because as it turns out, at least at the end of chapter 1, Darkners are items in the real world.
Yes.
Presumably, because let's just say the spare classroom looked like it had mostly toys. Let's say, toys are used usually by kids. Kids play checkers and stuff. Presumably, as time goes on, those classmates, whatever, got older. They grow up. They leave that stuff behind.
It's Toy
Spade
Story.
King and the others. What?
It's Toy Story.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like
yet another connection, but yeah, they were left behind. No one used them in forever.
It's fucking confirmed. I fucking found the link. Toby Fox, call me.
I knew it.
So that idea of like you left them there, like you abandoned us, and it's like Darkners, if they only exist,
does that imply
based
that
on
once
the
you
cognition
close the
of a
fountain,
Lightner,
all of those like consciousness are gone? Is that what he means by you left us? Because you don't gather up the stuff and bring it to the
they're
dark
gone.
world. You don't bring them to Castle Town, which implies that their consciousness are gone?
Well, I don't know if it's that they're gone. I think it's more like you left them in darkness, kind of like how Spade King and the others were left there before you came there. The light and the dark exist simultaneously, but if there are no Lightners and the Darkners have nothing to do, it could be a Schrodinger's thing where like, do they exist if you can't see them? If they're not there, if there is no darkness? And it's like, yeah, they probably do, but there's nothing to do.
No one's there to catch him. Did he really fall?
Also, like Ralsei said, the Darkners exist to serve Lightners. They entertain, even through the battles, through the adventures. All Darkners serve a purpose, but that purpose is based around a Lightner of some kind, whether it's a shopkeeper or someone who gives you information, or even just a citizen, like pieces on a game board or actors in a play. They exist in that space for the audience, the viewer, the Lightner. If there is no audience, you're playing for no one. Mm-hmm. Why keep the stage lights lit?
If my freedom motif plays and nobody's here to hear it, am I really free?
Am I really free? Am I really motifing right now?
Yeah.
Freedom on my motif till I don't forget.
Yeah, if you prep the stage but nobody came, was there ever anyone there to begin with? I think it's more so the Lightners. It's not that the Lightners don't necessarily exist, but it's that one needs the other. You bring everyone there so that they now serve a purpose, because it's like, well, we've got to close the fountain to stop the roaring, but we don't have to lose anyone. They can all come live with us in Castletown, and as you see, it can grow. We have something here, but leaving them behind is like, I don't think it's death. It's just they serve no purpose. It's more like you as a Lightner have the power. What?
More specifically, they serve no job.
No job, no purpose. But they need.
That has become a stim that I cannot I literally cannot. I have to complete it. I have to complete it every time.
You do. But the Darkners need a reason to exist, and in the castle town, it's a place where they can live without having to really be a part of like the Lightners. In a way, it's a place for them to live where the fountain doesn't need to be sealed, all that stuff. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Spade King doesn't like it, but he's just jaded about the fact that
I wonder if he'll
Lightners
become
left
warmer
them.
to you depending on the route that you're taking, because if he really does get upset with you after chapter 2 when you don't bring anybody over, I wonder, because we didn't really go and talk to him a lot in between the chapters. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll boot up the save files and see if he says anything different.
Go back and see what he's doing.
Yeah.
He does. He, like, even in chapter 3, or rather chapter 4, if someone from chapter 3 is able to make it to chapter 4, that person can then entertain King Spade, who does enjoy their presence.
That is so cute.
Spade King is, as the chapters go on,
can you imagine
warming
if something
up to
in,
the
in
idea.
chapter 5, 6, and 7 happens in Castletown, and it's the king that comes and saves us?
That's what I'm thinking.
That would be
is
really
that
cool.
Spade King will be coming around to us. Whereas if you don't rescue anyone, weird route or otherwise, you're proving him right. You're doing to them what you did to us.
Of the weird route. Speaking of the weird route, before we get into the overworld stuff post Dark Fountain in Chapter 2, if we backtrack a bit and we get to the point where Susie and Ralsei split off to do their own thing in Cyberworld, we meet Noelle. This is where things can start to get a little strange. A little
bizarre,
quirky, if you'll say. Because Noelle has ice-based abilities, such as Ice Shock, which does not cause the enemy to run away, which they've been doing every single time in battle.
Yeah.
If you beat them, they flee.
Presumably, before you can land the killing blow, they would they just leave.
Noelle freezes them solid,
and they're like stuck in their like idle pose, and they're just frozen, and the battle like ends.
Stronger.
But
and she becomes stronger. Yes.
Unlike beating them normally, where they run away, if you freeze them outside of battle, their sprites will remain where you encountered them in their frozen state. They don't go anywhere. So whether that means that they are dead or otherwise, we don't know. But it is like, I don't know. I don't know if they die or not, but it's clearly bad. They don't like it.
Well, we know what happens to one of the people that get frozen in the Dark World. We know what happens to them in the Overworld. So we have some inkling of what it could mean.
The whole like sprites being frozen and they're staying there, I find it to be a very interesting piece of ludonarrative, or like a ludonarrative piece of the gameplay, where the battles are clearly like an important part. Like they literally happen. They're literally brought to this screen.
If you actually watch, as soon as you encounter an enemy and you do like the idle animation, it actually takes the sprites from wherever they were on screen and puts them in the places where they're supposed to be, and then the battle starts. Yeah. You can actually see them being dragged over to the battle. So
the weird route is sort of like Deltarune's equivalent, I would argue, to a genocide run.
Yes.
Where you're trying to defeat all of the monsters in the area.
The thing about this, though, that makes the weird route, in my opinion, worse, and also is just also how you start it. How you have to start this, and you have to do something you might not normally expect to do, and then follow through with that at many different steps as this goes on. Like this isn't like genocide.
At any point you break, the route is basically done.
Yeah,
like it'll revert back to normal, but you have to commit to doing these things every single moment, even if it starts to feel unsettling.
And there isn't like the accidental thing like with Undertale, where it's like, okay, well, if it's an RPG, you fight, you can spare, you can kill.
Yep.
This, like, where you could accidentally, wind yourself into maybe not full genocide, but like there is one reason to do that, and it is like, I want to see this, I want to get like stronger, because it's an RPG. What if I killed everything? There's at least some like logic to following that path even into genocide, but this has the weird route has several steps where it's like, if you're doing this, you want this to happen. We might not even know what we're doing, but someone or something does, and the steps required is more than even just killing. Because there is like, you will do dialogue, you will interact with characters in such a way where it's like, we're doing something deliberate here. We are almost planting the seeds of something sinister. Something is growing, and it feels terrifying when you get to the later chapters. It is scary. It is something it's not just, I'm going to become a murder hobo and kill everything. It's, I am building to something.
You're dragging someone down with you. Like you're kind of making someone else do it instead of you kind of being the martyr.
Potentially, almost literally, once we get there and can actually talk about like the theories when we get to like 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, this feels like more esoteric in what you have to do to discover it, to pursue it, to like push things, not just like, oh, I see a monster, I kill them. It's like, no, you have to know to freeze all of them. Everyone has to be frozen, not beaten, otherwise you lose the run.
But frozen.
And like, as you said, Starla, there are many points in which the run is almost begging you to stop. Like, you one dialogue choice, one wrong move, and you're off of this, whatever this is. Because why would you stay on this? It almost makes no sense. It's going to make sense in the future, probably terrifying sense.
So a small detail too is once you start freezing enough of the enemies, they start. I don't think they start to do this until after you get like the first ring, like the freeze ring or whatever, from the vendor. But the enemies start to run away from you.
Yeah.
They'll see. I think it plays the same like exclamation mark and the sound when they first discover you, but instead of running towards you, they will run away from you. And you'll have to actually chase them down.
I think they're a little bit faster when they're running away too, aren't they? And you kind of have to like catch up because you have like a running speed.
And you do have to chase them down.
Actually, yeah, they might be faster.
But eventually you freeze enough of the enemies that you have to freeze, and you meet a mysterious fella in a dumpster who gives you his commemorative ring for the price of his...
He doesn't even come out of it either. He doesn't make himself known. He stays right in the fucking dumpster. You
can tell by the dialogue and by the sound that his voice makes that you know who that is, at least in the normal route. Yeah. Which is also curious, because that means that this route... Am I good to say who it is?
Yeah, we can say who it is. It's Spampton.
It's Spampton. Like, you can tell by his dialogue.
No, sorry, we're gonna have to restart the whole recording over. I can't believe you just said that.
Okay, alright, sorry.
He gives you the thorn ring. I still wonder why he even wanted this to happen. But you find out later what his reason was.
Out of this dumpster.
I guess I'll wait till we get to near the end of the Chapter 2 Weird Route to kind of add on my thing. But yeah, he gives you the thorn ring.
Yeah, he gives you the thorn ring for the price of his favorite year. I forget what year. I think it's like
1997.
1997.
He was voted #1 best salesman circa 1997.
And what the thorn ring does as an item, which can only be equipped on Noelle, is it saps her health away, but lets her use all of her attacks at the cost of 50% less of her TP. Which is needed because when you keep going, you encounter your other classmate, Birdly, and you get into a fight with him. And if you don't have the Thorn Ring, Snowgrave, which is a very powerful ice spell, is 200 TP.
Which only shows up in that fight.
Noelle also kind of begs Birdly not to fight and to actually run away. She's very... kind of soft-spoken when he's like talking to us, which is the reason why he gets so aggressive, because he's like, what have you done to Noelle? But then when she realizes what's about to happen, that's when she goes like, no, Birdly, you need to run. Almost like she's the one casting the spells, but she can't just not cast the spells. Like, she knows that Chris is the one telling her to proceed. And so she tells him to run. Not like, hey, I'm going to do this. Or she doesn't turn to Chris and go like, hey, I don't want to do this. She tells Birdly to run. Almost like she knows she doesn't have a choice.
To add on to that, too, when you first start interacting, she doesn't recognize him as Birdly. No. She just says, that's another monster. Do you want me to freeze him? And if you look at, before encountering Birdly, if you look at her description, because all the characters have descriptions that change, it says, I think that she's almost in a trance.
Yeah.
That's
as you're doing this, like as Noelle becomes stronger, it's like she's not there. She's almost like a puppet. Someone that you just tell to do things, you snap your fingers, you say the magic word, and freeze. But even more curious, the fact that she knows Snowgrave. That is a spell that she knows. And she says she doesn't know how to cast it. You have to tell her like 5 times that she doesn't know. But she does know. The implications as to why, in any context, she would have knowledge of a spell that can do whatever it does is a whole other question and a whole other theory.
And why she reveals kind of to the soul or to Chris in that moment. Like you said, we don't get to use Snowgrave against any of the other enemies, but it pops up against Birdly.
It's possible to, hack the game and actually use Snowgrave against other Darkners. And if you do that, they turn like red. Their sprite has like a red change, and then they dissolve like they're turning to dust. Yeah. Which is what monsters do when they're like actively killed. And the fact that Yeah, and the only word to describe Snowgrave is one word: fatal. If you use this against Darkners, you kill them. They're dead. I don't know if them being frozen is them dying, but seeing them dissolve into dust,
That's the same animation
just
as
like they
Undertale
would,
too, like when you kill a monster.
Well, they turn red and then dissolve, which they don't do in Undertale, but I think that's just to show that this is... Which, again, you're not going to be able to know that unless you hack the game to be able to actually do that, but that's also to kind of showcase the point of, oh, this is bad. Like, you should not be doing this.
That's
but then you
almost kind
cast
of
it.
similarly in line with how our Undertale copies are just copies and that the original is out there, kind of to show that you have to like hack the game files to see what's really happening. Because the fact that you have to hack the game, but it is like functional in the files to do that if you hack it.
Yes.
Is very
and also that Snowgrave is specifically a weird route accessible spell.
Yes.
And again, the only way to further experiment with that is to further break open the game and check things that you should not be able to normally, which adds on to what the weird route might be. But letting you continue, Goat, you cast Snowgrave.
So you cast Snowgrave, you freeze Birdly solid, and Noelle is so distraught, so, like, mentally drained from this, that she just wants to go home. And what I find fascinating about this scene at the end of the battle is during, like, when you're in the battle, like, box, Noelle walks up and away from you. And when the battle ends and you're transitioned back into the cyber world, the pylons that were there have been moved out of the way, and there is another route that is open to you.
Yeah, a route that you normally cannot access.
And that route takes you to a sewer drain.
Also, sorry, I was going to add her dialogue too at the end of the fight. She's not shocked at what she did. She doesn't understand. She's like, everything went white, almost like she's in a trance, because she just kind of casually says, I think I want to go home now or something. And she just walks off like she's not even aware of what she just did. Like that is the point too.
I think that she's
repressing it.
Yeah.
I think that she is. I think that, well, judging by other context too for stuff outside, she is repressing what just happened.
Right? Doesn't she go like, what happened?
Yeah, she's like, what happened? Everything went white. Like, I think I want to go home now or something. I think that part of her knows what she did, but she is repressing that memory. Which she might be repressing other memories if stuff that we've seen from other stuff is anything to go by. Like, there's a lot to Noelle that she just kind of doesn't really think about, and I think that's her just kind of...
So you go to the sewer, and it is a shortcut directly to Queen's Mansion, where, much like from the pacifist and normal routes, you meet back up with Ralsei and Susie. However, here you are not captured by Queen, and you are not going through the Queen's Mansion. Here you go in and learn that another entity, another force has taken over, and it's Spamton.
Gremlin-looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
Little guy.
You find Rule's card as a statue.
Yeah.
Why would you do that, bro?
Oh my god, it's him. It's him. Why'd you do that?
You find him, or rather, you find Rule's card as a statue outside the cafe. Because he's turned to stone and like no one can move him. All the butlers have been trapped like in the cafe, so there's no one to like stop what's going on.
So you learn that Spamton has taken over the castle, and if you go and find the basement where you found the Neo form originally, you actually do hear Spamton talk about changing into his Neo form. And then going through, you're attacked by Peepus. You go through a maze of Peepus. There is Peepus everywhere.
And every time you touch it, you initiate a battle.
And the battle isn't even like a fight. The Peepus just explodes into little Spamton heads, and that you can easily dodge because they don't move that fast. And then it just, like, the battle ends. Like, there's not even a thing to fight.
So you go through the Peepus rooms, and then you get to the end where the Queen... talks again about the Roaring Night and how the Dark Fountain was created, However, unlike the neutral and pacifist routes, for the Snowgrave route, Noelle is not there in her giant hand.
She actually references that Noelle, I think she's like, Noelle must rest or sleep. She's far too awake. She's like awoken far too
woke?
much. Yeah.
She woke.
Noelle went woke.
She colored her hair
When you go woke
blue.
and then when you go woke and then you freeze your classmate.
Yeah, that's what woke does. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
But
when you become woke, when you become like 100% woke, you unlock the Snowgrave spell.
Ralsei invites Queen to the castle town, and then you go to seal the Dark Fountain, only to be stopped by Spampton Neo.
Little asshole.
Silly fella that he is.
No, you're an asshole.
Shows up to fight you, and Spampton Neo comes to fight you and stop you from sealing the Dark Fountain. And it is probably the hardest boss fight in Chapter 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
The fact that you're alone and it's kind of more so about surviving more than anything. Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have to survive and build TP enough to use X/, which is your most damaging
Oh, you do have to attack him, okay.
Interesting, another example of Chris, or in this case, Chris knowing a move, X/, which does not come up again at all. So I don't know if Chris always knew how to do that.
If I had a nickel for every single time a specific move was only brought up in one boss fight in Chapter 2 and then never used again, I'd have 2 nickels.
What's really interesting is that what's really interesting is Spampton's dialogue during that, where he implies that like he's like, oh, how could you do it? You know, I sold you my commemorative ring for the price of my favorite year. It's like oh, who would have known that you would have gone on to like, I think he's like kill everyone like in the city, and he's like, oh no, wait, that was me. Like it seemed seemingly implying that he knew it was going to happen if he gave you the ring, because he wanted to like he wanted to like the fact. I don't even think Spampton knew what was. Like, did he know what was going to happen? Because there's also...
Oh, yeah, he must have, because he was fucking
There's also
hiding.
another connection.
He was hiding in the dumpster, and he only does that when you're in that route. He's the one who gives you the ring,
yes,
and he's like, kind of like, are you sure? And then he just so happens to become, like, king and get that shit on his own.
True, but at the same time, he also...
when you're by yourself?
Well, he also only gets you, he only gives you the thorn ring after everyone has been frozen, because he'll be like, you'd be like, I'll get so, and then in the red text, similar to Undertale, it'll say like 14 left or whatever, and he won't sell you the commemorative, the thorn ring until all of the main like Darkner enemies have been frozen, and it's because he wants to like take over the castle. But there's also another layer. He does have pink and yellow glasses, which pink and yellow is, once you see those colors, you will see them everywhere.
Field of pink
and
yellow.
they have a connection to Noelle as well. And people theorize that Noelle may have some kind of connection
Susie's,
to a certain
like,
character
color in the battle scene and Noelle's color in the battle scene when you select them to act are gold and yellow.
Is
golden
yes, Noelle's. Funny enough, Noelle's color is yellow, and then Susie's color is pink for their bars. If you take that with a grain of salt, there's a lot there. But the fact that Spampton did all of this to like acquire power and then stops you because he doesn't want the Dark Fountain to be sealed. He controls the castle. He doesn't want you to stop it. But the fact that he knew what was going to happen and was so willing to let you basically murder everyone in the town just so he could take over like that stuff there. I do wonder what his point in all that is, but the fact that he has the pink and yellow glasses definitely sings a connection to a certain other character or device that I would like to talk about, but we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait on that just a little bit.
Yeah, so you fight Spampton Neo until you get to the very end where he's like one more hit away from being beaten, and he increases his defense to, I think, like infinite or like 999 or something like that.
Specifically, he activates his blue light mode, which I believe is meant to be a reference to Kmart, because Kmart's, back when those stores existed, had blue light specials where there'd be these blue lights on certain aisles that would go off, and they'd like have an emergency discount back when like department stores did that.
Oh,
just another fun
back
fact.
when they had aura.
Yeah, back when they
Yeah.
had sauce and aura hype moments. When he does that, your only option in the act is Chris to call Rousey, and then for Chris to call Susie, and then for you to call Noelle.
Interestingly enough, Noelle's name, when you go to select it, does not show up. It is just the icon of like her face in like her bar thing. There is no name, just that symbol.
Almost like it's not even Noelle anymore in our eyes.
Yeah, or almost like you don't even need to say her name, because as it says, when you select her name, you whisper it.
Yeah.
And just
and
by whispering
like,
her name. Yeah, he's like, hey.
What I find interesting about that scene, though, is the way the dialogue box explains it is it reads as Chris calls for Susie, Chris calls for Rousey, but then it says you whisper Noelle's name.
Oh.
This is another instance that you'll notice of Chris and the soul or the player being two separate beings here.
Often you is used to describe player actions.
I find it really fascinating that there are these instances, and I think more people caught on to the you whispered Noelle's name than they did to the really obvious Chris ripping your soul out of their body. But after you defeat Spampton Neo in the Snowgrave or Weird route, and after you defeat Queen in the neutral pacifist route, both scenarios play out relatively the same, where you seal the Dark Fountain, and you, Susie, and Noelle, and in the pacifist route, Birdley, wake up in the library again. In the Weird route, Birdley does not wake up.
Nope.
And this is where we are given access to Hometown once again to see what has changed from yesterday.
It's actually the first time we get to really walk around, right?
It's the second time, because we do get to walk around at the end of chapter 1.
Right.
It's the first time we get free access to the castle town after chapter 1.
When you go to the library specifically, you can go upstairs and there's a wall of books, and if you read the books, they'll explain to you facts about the world of, monsters and whatnot. I don't know if it's as humans and monsters either. The very idea of what the world of Hometown is like is kind of up in the air. But specifically, all the way back in chapter 1, you can't actually get all the way to the left to read all the books because it's a single line. It's because there is, I don't know what people call him, I like to call him the Birdman. He's standing there. He's yellow and he's blue and he's got like a big head and he's leaning down and he looks kind of goofy, but he's stopping you from reading the other books. But as each chapter has gone on, he has moved back, letting you access another book like each chapter, kind of gradually giving you knowledge on the world of Hometown. This character would have almost no significance were it not for Undertale. They're specifically connected there. In Undertale, there are these certain different, was maybe meant to be a reference to like Deltarune coming up. Are you good?
Yeah,
okay,
no, it
back.
happened again. Oh, that's what that is. Okay, sorry. I turned off some stuff, hopefully to help with the CPU usage.
But
you were talking about the Goners.
There's a specific, the thing is, every NPC in there that you find has a counterpart. You can find one unique NPC that is monochrome. That is the Birdman. Unlike every other Goner that you meet, there was no colored version of him in Undertale. He only existed as a Goner. His original copy is in Deltarune.
Yes.
So that significance alone of being like, this character had no regular version until Undertale, and even by the way his dialogue kind of sounds by the time you get to chapter 4, something is off about him. He is not who he seems. I don't know what it is, what his goal is, but the fact that is his original version is in Deltarune and not in Undertale, when all the Undertale Goners are meant to be copies of something, usually from Undertale, is significant in and of itself. But as for what this character wants, we don't know. But later you can talk to Onion-san and they'll explain to you, oh, I've been hearing some stuff. If you come back tomorrow, no, in chapter 1, he's like, if you come back tomorrow, I could like talk to you. And then you go in chapter 2, and then he talks to you and explains about hearing some weird music coming from like under the water, like the bottom of the lake or something, which harkens back to Jevel's, hell's roar bubbles from the deep. They got to stop like hell and stuff like that. Admittedly, in chapter 3, since you get to go into hometown like pretty early or whatnot, the Birdman is standing where Onion Sen would normally show up, and
oh yeah, okay.
And I think he's going to, where he says something like that, and it's like his dialogue's repeating, but he's standing in the spot and not letting you access Onion San.
What chapter is this?
It's in chapter 3 or 4. Birdman's in there since chapter 1, I believe.
I think it's chapter 4, because chapter 3 takes place entirely in the...
It is chapter 4, yeah. And I think he's saying, like, where do... I think it's like his dialogue's repeating, but people have noticed specifically that I think of the 2 words he says, their starting letters are W and D.
Oh,
and they're repeating,
interesting.
Which seems, and considering that he is the only colored version of the Goner that isn't in Undertale, it seems to give him, and his placement, unlike every other NPC that just exists in their life.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. DW or WD.
This is what it shows up when I look at it.
Gaster or WD Gaster, because it's those letters, even if they're reversed. And again, his colored variant only exists in Deltarune. Despite his monochrome sprite existing in Undertale, there's no colored variant until you get to Deltarune. And his placement there and in the library, specifically stopping you from interacting with something that might give you more information that could prove vital, he's up to something.
Curious.
At the end of chapter 2 as well, my boy Alvin, if we go see what he's up to, is standing in front of Gerson Boom's grave in the graveyard beside the church. As we interpret it at the end of chapter 2, before the greater context that we get later, it is implied or believed that, like, he's mourning over the loss of
because he's his son. You go to your father's grave. It's a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then before we get to chapter 3, one other moment I want to talk about regarding hometown in chapter 2 is the hospital. A very mundane, simple scene in the pacifist and neutral routes where you go in, you see Noelle having a moment hanging out with her father in the hospital before she heads home, and you can talk to him a little bit, is made more interesting in the weird route, because you go in, you talk a little bit, Noelle heads out, and as you're heading out, Rudy, Noelle's dad, talks to Susie in private, leading to a cutscene with you and Noelle, where she is trying to make sense of everything that just happened, and a voice that wasn't Chris's voice.
Which you can interact with her there, where it's like she's talking to herself and she doesn't know that you're there until you... There's actually two different variations. One is that you can try and talk to her and try and like speak to her, I think. After that, Susie comes out, and then, Noelle like runs off because she's, embarrassed and whatnot. There's a special version of that where when Noelle first enters the Dark World and you get access to her inventory, she is wearing a watch, a silver like watch that she has. You can remove that and you can equip it on Chris. If you have that on and then don't give it back to her, during that interaction, she'll see that you have her watch. But how could you have the watch? She didn't give it to you. It was on her, or at least she thought it was. And then you're given the option to, as the soul, you can say, because it's all real. You can try and tell her that right then and there to kind of like, no, everything did happen. But as you go to select that, Susie comes back out, interrupts the thing, and then the usual ending plays where she runs off. So there is a way to try and almost implying that us, or you, the soul, is trying to convince her that this is real, trying to kind of break through. For some reason, we're not sure yet as of chapter 2, but it's interrupted, thankfully, and rather than having any more scarred members than she already has, she runs off, and then that scene just kind of ends.
With that, you and Susie head back to your home, where Susie's about to leave when Toriel invites her inside, and
kind of a wholesome moment.
It's a cute, wholesome,
come over and hang out with her friend.
Little moment of hanging out, getting ready to make some like butterscotch pie when Chris heads into the bathroom to wash their hands. Before we get a second instance of Chris removing the soul from their body. We, or in this case the soul or the player, are thrown into the cabinet underneath the sink, while Chris shuffles out of the bathroom window to do what? I don't know. I think it's implied that Chris is the one who slashes Toriel's tires.
Yeah.
It is confirmed multiple times that Chris carries a knife on their person that we do not have access to, but they do.
Yeah, Chris sneaks out of the bathroom to slash the tires, comes back in.
Doesn't they do that? Don't they do that because they don't want Susie to go home?
There's another explanation that people have thought of, but I don't know if I want to talk about it too, because that's at the end of chapter 3. That kind of comes around.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure why the tires were slashed initially, and we will get into that by the end of chapter 3. But Chris goes out, slashes the tires, comes back in, and reinserts us the soul, giving us control again. Where we head to the couch and watch TV with Susie, which something I forgot to mention. In chapter 1, interacting with the family TV, it's unplugged. Whereas in chapter 2, it's been plugged back in, implying that this is something else Chris must have done when we had no control between chapters. So we watch TV with Susie until Susie and Toriel fall asleep, where in which Chris takes us out, reveals the knife, and plunges it into the ground, creating a dark fountain, reinserting us back into them before they passed out on the couch.
Well, before reinserting them, they open the door at the front of the house and also turn on the TV, and then create the dark fountain.
Opening the door, turning on the TV, reinserting us before passing back out on the couch, ending chapter 2 on this cliffhanger.
And that is where it sat for a good, 3 years?
Chapter 2 came out in September of 2021. Chapter 3 came out June 4th of 2025. So almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years they were just sitting on that couch.
Getting into chapter 3. Chapter 3 starts in a way that chapters 1 and 2 didn't, where we open up in a giant couch on the dark world, and Susie's all like, oh my gosh, a dark fountain just opened up here, let's go have an adventure. And Chris goes, because they don't speak unless we let them. We go through, and the thing I want to point out from the beginning of chapter 3 is a lot of it at the very start is mirroring chapter 1's opening.
Even the little fucking dust things that you go and press A on and they go like, whoa.
Yeah, the dust things.
Dusty.
Yeah, those little guys.
Why are they so dusty?
There's a light, like the puzzle with the eyes that you have to turn on and off. So you go through the opening, you find Ralsei, who's like, oh my god, a dark fountain opened, and Susie's like, I know, this is awesome, and Ralsei's like, no it's not. And you keep going, and that's when Ralsei reveals, hey, Darkners technically might not be real, because in the light world, they're just objects.
Yeah, we wanted to bring Ralsei to the festival.
Yeah, the Darkner's existence is based on a Lightner's cognition, essentially, how they think or perceive that object.
And after this revelation hits us, we are hit with the cold opening to one of probably the silliest, goofiest, wackiest, funniest characters. Everyone say it with me. It's Mr. Antenna's TV time.
That's the thing. That's the intro.
He's like my favorite character.
And then it goes,
so we meet Mr. Antenna, or for the sake of this,
coming
we're
straight
just
from
gonna call
your
him Antenna.
house.
Coming straight from your house.
Coming.
You can't get this from an egg.
He's always groovy and never glooby.
So yeah, you meet Mr. Antenna, who basically pulls us along and brings us to the stage where we are the stars of a fun, silly little game show. And the game show is divided into a few different segments, being a like stage where you have like a podium, the like overworld or like the game show board, where it's a NES, like Nintendo Entertainment System style, early Zelda style like adventure game, and then a mini game at the end, where the first mini game is a cooking mini game where you have to like catch food and throw it to the customers, kind of like reminiscent of, I'd say, Tappers, if anyone knows that game. Root beer.
Yeah, feels very much like a flash game you'd kind of play, where it's like, get points, high scores. Very simple but fun.
The second board, taking you along to, I believe it was like take pictures of some of the NPCs and the locales before culminating in a rhythm style minigame akin to that of like Guitar Hero, but with 2 buttons instead of 4. And we'll get to the third board in a moment, because in between the boards, you also have access to the green room. And with the green room, we have a lot of stuff to talk about in regards to this chapter.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things... by the way, this is the point where there's a lot of heavy spoilers.
Definitely.
So
Chapter
many
3 and
spoilers.
4 only came out this year. It is like a paid thing, so if you haven't played it yet, this is your point of no return. We've talked about a few sprinkles with Chapter 3 and 4 so far, but it hasn't been like hella heavy, just kind of whatever Stooges decided to ramble about. You're all good. So yes, this is the kind of the point of no return, like in regards to Chapter 3 and 4 spoilers. So if you're still here and you haven't played it, and you don't want to be spoiled, fucking figure it out, man. I'm not your mom.
Yeah, put us at like almost on mute.
Yeah, like if you need to, I think
volume.
you can mute the tab, or like don't like mute us on your phone. However the hell you're listening to this. Hello, phone users. Hello, TV users. Hello, desktop users.
Go buy the game, because it's only like it's not that expensive, and play it, enjoy it, consume it, come up with your own thoughts and opinions on it, and then get back to this.
Yes.
With that being said, one of the first things I think I would like to talk about regarding some of the more spoilery stuff in this chapter is 1225.
Yes. December 25th.
In the green room, you have access to different doors depending on the rank that you do of the minigame at the end of the board. B rank, I think, giving you access to... No, C rank giving you access to the water cooler, I believe. B rank giving you access to... What does B rank give you access to, actually? Can we look that up?
What do you need?
You know the doors that, like, give you access to stuff in the ranks? Going from, like, C, B, A, S, and I think there's even a secret T rank room.
What do you need me
to do? So the T rank is... the T rank is if you do terribly. Is if you are awful. You get, like, no points.
So you have C rank, which has the water cooler fight that you can do. A rank, which lets you play the minigames that you played in the game. And then you have the B rank room, which gives you access to a giant PNG of a gachapon machine. Where you can get items when you insert points that you earn during the gameplay. However, if you insert exactly 1,225 points, you get a door that leads to a strange, kind of liminal space in this dark world.
Yeah, it's got the same paths that you have kind of outside the green room, but like all scattered around. The background seems like different. I forget what exactly the background is, and there's like this filter over everything, almost like it's frozen, like it's a place not moving, kind of frozen in time.
And as you explore, a song plays in the background. That being the motif for Lost Girl, which a lot of people have heavily associated with a character that's only been mentioned thus far in the game. And I have failed to actually talk about her, mostly because her significance hasn't really been brought up all that much until around this point. That being December Holiday, the missing older sister to Noelle.
Yes.
As you keep exploring the 1225 room, you eventually come across, I forget what the item is that you find in the 1225 room, but you reach out for something in there, and the dialogue text box starts to describe how your hand phases through whatever you're grabbing, and then your right hand starts to disappear.
A small dark triangle-shaped item that slips through your hand. That is the reward that you are given. And
as your hand starts to disappear, you are suddenly brought back to the B room with Susie and Ralsei. What the What does that mean, guys?
What does
there
any
is
of
like
that
a
mean?
Chris's hand theory, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a theory that people think Chris is gonna lose their right hand in Chapter 4. Right now, at the time of this recording, and as far as I know, the most significance we know about that room is it's somehow related to December Holiday.
Yes.
Because of the 1225.
Beyond December Holiday.
Who herself is like an enigma in the lore, who seems to have major significance in the relationship that they used to have with many of the main cast, and yet is gone. People don't seem to talk much about her disappearance for some reason. You would think that it'd be more relevant, but I think it's almost like maybe it's because people forgot. Maybe we didn't forget.
Don't forget.
Maybe.
Don't forget.
Don't
fucking forget. Don't fucking forget.
Don't forget.
We better not see any of these goddamn Reddit threads in like 4 years or now where people forgot.
It's gonna be real bad.
It's gonna lead. Don't forget.
Please remember.
Tell us something your mom doesn't know. Yeah. Oh.
Whoa. So yeah.
I got lipstick on the top of it now.
As far as I know, at the time of this recording, despite being the most significance that room has is that it's connected to December Holiday somehow. Other than that, it's just kind of a weird room, but much like how Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 had some vague things that made a lot more sense as Chapters 3 and 4 came out, I'm sure some Chapter 3 content, and Chapter 4 for that matter, will be explained, expanded upon, and recontextualized as this game continues to come out. The next topic of interest, I think, is worth talking about, unless anyone wants to interrupt and take over, is the S rank room.
The S rank room in which you...
I'm a little less unfamiliar with chapters 3 and 4 because we literally just did them, so...
Yeah, they're still very fresh.
Yeah.
The S rank room is the one where you recognized part of Spampton's theme in the background because it plays.
Beating the minigames at the end of the boards, you get access to the different rooms. And if you get S rank, you get access to an important, very special VIP S rank room where you are given a silly little leitmotif being Spampton's theme and a strange controller that has pink and yellow buttons on it.
Yes, well, more specifically, you talk to a guy outside of one of the doors who seems to look very similar to one of the citizens from the cyber world, and he calls himself a Ram, or Ram, who I believe he's got like connections to different places, which I don't know if he actually uses the word connections, but I'm pretty sure Ram, alongside like the Queen's lab, the Queen who is a laptop, were brought over by Chris and Noel, and they played with them at his house. But the fact that Ram is a power bar, which you connect other items into, is what first of all is why he's showing up even in that dark world, despite him not really supposed to be there. He's technically not originally from there. And that does have an effect on him. A lot of people are off-put by him because of his absent status, but because he's a power bar, he's been connected to a lot of different things and has knowledge about other events that most other Darkners wouldn't have, usually besides a handful of main characters who have that status of knowing their things. Ram has, kind of similar to almost Sham, a character we didn't really mention in Chapter 1, who's a shopkeeper, he's like the Sham of Chapter 3, of like a character that knows more than they let on, but does not have the status. Yes, but is not the status of major character. They're a secondary character, but he gives you access to the back rooms of the. We
also glossed over the fact that you get another shadow crystal from Spamton when you defeat him.
Oh yeah, you do get a shadow crystal from Spamton.
One from Jebel and one from Spamton, which seems to now create a sort of theme that the super bosses or the secret bosses, however you want to phrase it, from Deltarune hold these crystals for some reason.
Not just that, individuals who either have extensive knowledge and or have been affected by some exterior force tend to have these shadow crystals, beings that are powerful and that use them somehow. We're not really sure how they're used, but you go in and you can find what Rom says is the original game, because you're playing, it's like a ROM hack in a way. You're playing Tenna's personal cavalcade changed version of an existing game.
ROM hack of the original game.
But ROM basically says, I can show you the original game, the one that this was based on. No strings attached. And so you go in there, but you can't play because you don't have a controller. But then as you go to leave, you see a controller on the ground.
Yeah,
a pink and yellow controller. Once again, those colors. Once you see them once, you will see them everywhere because there are so many times that is being referenced. And with that controller, you can boot up the game, which has kind of a title card that comes up but doesn't really get fully shown before you're dropped into the game, where you can move around and it's the same boards as before, but they're absent of most characters, but you can acquire a sword. When you pick up the sword, you'll now have a new kind of bar up there with LV. Levels. You now have levels you can get, which again connects to Undertale, because in Undertale, LV didn't actually mean levels. People assume that it meant that because that's the video game term for it. It actually stands for your level of violence. And so now with the sword, you can actually start going around killing enemies like you would in a normal game to level up your sword. Level 1, 2, 3, and then eventually max. And as you go around killing stuff, your sword becomes more powerful. Eventually, you can fight stronger enemies until eventually you can break the very blocks that surround you. You can break palm trees, which are all over the map, letting you basically cut your way through anything, almost like strength equaling freedom, the strength to break through the barriers that would normally hold you and access areas that you're not supposed to. One such area that you can get access to is in board 1.
As you cut through the trees in board 1, you find a key.
Yes, you find a key, and that key has significance because if you go north all the way up to a place that is normally inaccessible, Tenna does not let you go there. You can get
in board 2.
In board 2?
Yeah, in board 1. At the end of board 1, because it's it's like the beach.
The beach,
sort of area. You cut through the trees, you get the key, and then the game ends. And then after you S-rank board 2, when you play the real version of board 2, you go on a raft and you go north until you find like a door to what is essentially a ice palace.
Yeah, an area that normally if you can get up there when Tenna does leave temporarily, but you can't get in it because it's blocked by like boulders and stuff. But I believe you can break those in the game
Yes,
the original.
In the true version of the game.
And you also need the key from board 1's S room in order to even unlock the door to get in there.
Yeah. So you open up the Ice Palace, you go in, you kill the enemies that you can kill, and then you get access to another NPC.
Some people have even pointed out that some of the enemies you fight in there may have semblance to characters in Undertale. You fight, there are golden flowers that you can fight. There are
oh yeah, they all have
there's someone who I think throws like a trident at you or something, which people think might be Asgore. It's
there's like a blue fish.
Yeah, like a yellow like fire dinosaur
that are meant to be Toriel and Asgore.
Yeah. And people theorize that those very primitive sprites may have sort of a meta reference of being those, because after all, you need to become stronger. You need to make your sword stronger. And you do that by killing enemies. You become stronger, possibly showcasing what this route might actually be in the future, that in order to acquire this power, in order to acquire whatever it is that we're aiming for,
can you imagine if we have to
do that?
Yeah, if we have to fucking do genocide route again.
Oh yeah,
and like take them all down and all of that shit.
I could totally see a chapter 7 where somehow, let's throw a mini theory in there. Somehow you get into the light world with your dark world abilities and you can just like tear through everything, because who could stop you? Another item significance is items in the light world take on a different form in the dark world, a lot stronger. Pencils become swords. There's a mechanical sword you can get in Cyber World that says it extends at the push of a button. That's a mechanical pencil. You click it. Yeah, but if a pencil can become a sword, imagine what other items could become. You know, in your imagination, mostly strongest, I'd say, you know, with children, with kind of the pure imagination, you can make anything into anything, again, based on your cognition. But you go through, and like you said, you find an NPC who is a nameless figure, white cloak. And we know one other character who traveled around with us with a white cloak, that being Noelle.
And that's supposed to like kind of give you ideas about the weird route if you didn't do it in the second chapter.
Yeah,
it kind of teaches you how to do it.
NPC at a push of a button freezes the smaller like nest style sprite enemies.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be sort of a hint at the fact that you can do the weird route.
You actually need to freeze them to progress, because you need to push them like blocks onto switches to unlock later areas.
There would be something in the third chapter that can teach you about like a route in the second chapter. Like that's just very intriguing to me.
I find it interesting too. I think the whole inclusion of this character and this whole secret area in chapter 3 that you can get to is sort of like for new players, like probably the ones listening to this episode that have us at 1% volume right now, hopefully. But I think it's to retroactively teach these new players that weren't in the know or in the zeitgeist of Deltarune in chapter 2's heyday. There's
definitely been some people that came in from chapters 3 and 4.
It's supposed to teach them that they can go back and like make other decisions in the dark world there and change certain aspects. Yeah, you take this NPC and she helps lead you through a maze where you get led to an 8-bit version of an area in Hometown called the Bunker.
Yes.
And in the bunker, you find another key, and that's where board 2 ends.
Yes.
With the main story, meanwhile, Tenna's kind of losing his shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys want to go and seal the fountain as you're supposed to, but if you seal the fountain, everything that he's been tasked to do, because as one thing we glossed over, at the very start, before you even wake up, actually, is the TV that showed up in, you know, Chris's home, speaking to, I guess, whoever, saying that they were tasked by the night to buy time to keep you occupied. For what reason, we don't know yet, but that was the purpose, the point.
More specifically,
and so
the job.
with you,
I'm sorry, I can't. It's like it's hardwired into me.
And so with you basically just kind of saying like, hey, this is fun and all, but we've done 2 boards. We don't really want to do a third. Can we just like go seal the fountain? And Tenna's like, you shouldn't do that. No.
Don't seal the fountain.
Yeah.
And then
you do
Doom Board
manage
starts
to
playing,
do,
which is one of the best songs in the entire franchise.
You sneak back behind stage, and after completing a certain number of puzzles, you manage to get access to an area filled with snow and ice, and you can see the dark fountain in the distance. And then there's a giant, like, JPEG of a Christmas tree, because I guess maybe that's where you store one. I don't know, but at the top. Oh no, not the top. There's a ball. There's a gotcha ball
that has inside it Toriel.
Yes, in like a royal attire, because this is her like Dark World version, but she's sleeping in there. And then Tenna comes in to check on her and catches you. And then board 3 starts, where you are trapped within gotcha balls, and Tenna, using his avatar, is going through the game, putting you into battles, giving you quizzes.
I would like to point out, during board 3, when Tenna's little 8-bit avatar is going through it...
I got a notification from Xbox telling me to download Overwatch 2. Fuck off.
No way. No Xbox.
What is that, bro? No. Why is my Xbox app active?
No.
I turned it off.
Going through board 3, when Tenna's sprite is like walking over to like hit the quiz holes and the enemies to get you into a fight, I did notice in the background there are TVs that flash yellow and pink.
Okay, I didn't notice that. That is, again, more pink and yellow.
Eventually, you fight an enemy who gives you enough TP, tension points, to use an ability to turn the TV off, and that is your opportunity to escape. And you get the chance to explore the rest of this dark world, which consists of a sneaking area, a couple of mazes where you are stopped by quizzes where you have to select A or B answers, a fascinating secret room where you can find a blue egg, also known as a peepus.
Yes.
And we'll slow down here for a moment, as it is revealed that Spampton is in fact not dead, but still alive. He's chilling with us.
He's in our pocket, right there in our pocket.
Yeah, if you have his item, which does track, because when you beat Jevil, he does turn into the item, like using his spin thing, and then the item goes in your inventory. And then Spampton also says, take my power and like try and do good or whatever, and then he disappears into an item. So that also confirms that possibly Jevil, especially during a fight later, it's possible if you have one of Jevil's items equipped, you actually get a little kind of reference to it, that those super bosses are not dead. They live with you. Their power embodying these items.
He pops out.
He does. Only if you have the item. If you don't, then Tenna just kind of gets laughed at and then runs off.
You keep going through the dark world until eventually you get back to the green room. However, by this point, you
just glossed over that Spampton and Tenna are totally gay for each other, because Spampton goes like, "You do care," and then he's like, "What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? And then he sprays him.
He just fucking like.
I love that.
Yeah, there are.
He's so shocked.
I glossed over a lot of this, but there are a lot of moments that heavily imply or just outright tell us that Spampton and Tenna had some sort of history.
That is embodied no greater than if you get the T rank, which is for terrible. You do awful. You get like no points.
That's not true.
And you unlock. If you get no points, you get a special T rank room that does not unlock under anything else.
Wait, that can't be true, because I got a T rank on one of the mini games myself from getting the best score.
Okay, maybe not a T rank, but or maybe it's a Z rank. There is a like
T is meant to be like Tenna. It is after S. I remember because It was way after we had beaten chapter 3. I think we had broken off to make dinner, and I did the. Because I think you were cooking. Goat, I think you were here cooking, and that's why we were playing through it. I played through the rhythm minigame, and I got the T rank. I have a screenshot of it, I bet, on my computer here. So
you get either I think you get like a Z. I think it's a Z rank where you basically do the worst. You get like 0 points, but it's a special room that actually gives you access to the back room without needing an S rank. So either you get a perfect rank or you get no rank at all. But when you go into that room, there's a couple of things you can interact with. There is a mirror that looks like it was smashed. There's a little stool with a phone sitting on it, and the phone is hanging off the hook, off the receiver. That phone being like identical to the phone in the back of Spamton's shop.
Yes.
Which seems to almost travel with him, because I think the phone disappears too when you upload him into the empty disk.
I believe it does.
But the background itself seems to be an image that he just kind of conjures, because even the background, the color like disappears.
The phone does disappear, and it actually does show up in Spamton Neo's boss fight for a couple of attacks.
He gets a call. You also see posters there. The data on them is kind of scrambled, but it looks like it was meant to be a cross-promotion thing, which essentially what happened is that Spamton was like, I think, a program in Addison on the laptop. Noelle and Chris bring the laptop over with, the power bars, whatnot, plug everything in together. So it's all linked, all stuff like traveled through to each other. And Tenna meets Spamton, essentially, and Spamton wanting to, be a big shot, talks with Tenna, or rather, no, I think this is after he became a big shot. It wasn't before. Spamton got a call one day from someone that I think changed his life forever. Essentially, Spamton went from having no luck to having all the luck, as if everything was going his way, almost like he was in control. And I don't think he could change things, but he was just suddenly becoming very lucky. And in this lucky state, he met Tenna. They were going to do like a cross-promotion thing. But Tenna, or Spamton rather, wanted to talk to Tenna. And I think it was him going to basically... I think Spamton, whatever gift he was given, he wanted to give it to Tenna, or basically explain to Tenna how it was that he became such a big shot. But that would be, I think, revealing whatever it was that gave him his current status. And as he was going to tell Tenna, he got a phone call, picked up the phone. They say he went pale, which makes me wonder if he wasn't always like white and black, if maybe he was once a colored Addison, but the color literally drained from him upon being told by some other force or voice that I guess he was going to lose his big shot status. Maybe that was the call that was informing him that he was being evicted from Queen's Mansion, which is why he talks about, like, the men inside Queen's Mansion, or how sometimes during his Neo fight, he'll, like, have dialogue begging for people not to take his furniture because repo men came and, like, tossed him out into the alley. They tossed him into the gutter, but he lost everything at that point. And he ran away, like, crying, and Tenna never saw him again. As far as Tenna is concerned, that's also why he doesn't recognize Spamton when he shows up again, because he's literally unrecognizable. It's kind of played for laughs, but he's changed so much he doesn't even recognize, like, his old friend when he's right there. So they have a connection. Pink and Yellow is also connected with him as well by his glasses, considering that the Deal Maker seemingly still has the color on it, even when it moves away from Chris, which tells me that I think maybe the glasses aren't super important, but I almost wonder if the being that Spamton talked to that gave him his powers had pink and yellow eyes, and so in order to desperately try and recapture that glory, he even had glasses framed with the colors, thinking, if I can look like that person, if I can be just like them, I can get it all back.
We do see a figure like that in Chapter 2. If you, like, kind of spiff around that area for a little bit, he can appear in that corner.
That is, if I'm going to say it, that is device_friend. It's a little smiling face, which is also brought up in Chapter 3. That same face and the same laugh that's accompanied with it is put on the body of one of the amalgams when describing the darkness beyond darkness, when so much darkness happens that there is not even light, meaning anything could be in there, because light and dark contrast each other, where a darkner's presence or appearance is based on a lightner's cognition.
Yes.
But if there isn't even light, if there isn't even lightners to cognition, does that mean the darkners could take on any form? They would not be limited to the forms given to them by a lightner's cognition. It's like chaos and darkness. It's its own whole other thing.
The pink and yellow eyes of device_friend do also show up another time in Chapter 3.
Yes.
When you get back to the green room after the truth came out that Toriel is a gachapon ball, you do get access to the S room again by this point, and when you go in, you get to play the third board that you never actually got to play in the actual game show part of the chapter, where you are put into a city and are forced to level up by killing the sprites, the 8-bit style sprites of Ralsei and Susie.
And when you do that, Chris literally has to look away as it happens.
Yes, they look away.
One of the few moments of agency in which some people wonder if it's actually not them looking away and them looking at you when they're doing it, because they know that you're the one making them do this.
I believe Ralsei does that at some point, don't they? When you're playing the game and you make a certain decision, Ralsei might look up.
Oh, maybe.
There is something like that. I remember seeing it on TikTok. I wish I had saved it, but there was something where if you keep messing up or something, Tenna will scold you, and then I think you can say something, or Susie says something, and Ralsei will, like, turn their model and, like, literally look up and go, like, huh, yeah, that is strange. Something like that.
Well, that's interesting. If you can find that, like, I can
definitely try, because I'm sure I would have saved something like that, like, on my phone.
But yeah, the soul, or the player, we force Chris to kill these sprites, which I think could be foreshadowing for some possible event that may play out in one of the later chapters, 5, 6, or 7 at the time of this recording. But then you break away part of the ropes that are keeping you from accessing the rest of the city in this board, and you find a very familiar looking sewer grate, which kind of looks similar to the layout of the path to the sewer grate to Queen's Palace in chapter 2, which takes you to the, I think, bunker.
Okay, again. I got it. So it's the moment... Sorry, I want to cut in because I found it. It's the moment where you go into the shop and Susie keeps trying to pressure you to buy the deodorant. If you make Susie put on the blue ribbon, she'll angrily snap at Chris and say, "Why would you make me do that?" Ralsei then literally has an animation where they turn around like that and they go, "Make you?" And that's that. That's the whole scene. Yeah. But specifically, that's the only time Ralsei will, like, turn around. Like, it's literally an animation of, like, his hand going up like that and looking up. And it's interesting that Susie knows, like, Susie snaps at Chris and, like, does that animation and says, like, "Why would you make me do that?" And it's Ralsei that looks at us.
Sorry, I never saw... Because I know what part you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I never saw the little animation. I only read the dialogue boxes during my playthroughs. Mm-hmm. So I sort of interpreted that as, like, because by that point, I didn't think Ralsei realized that Susie had switched Chris and Susie.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought it was.
Yeah, so I thought the make you was like, oh, wait, is Chris playing as Susie?
No, it's Ralsei deliberately turns around and actually, like,
looks back at us.
Yes, and says, "Make you."
We go through the sewer, and where do we end up?
You said, well, near the bunker, presumably, or outside the bunker, or where its placement would be.
So we we show up to, I believe, the bunker, where we use the bunker key, where we get access to it. And this is where we get into a boss fight with a character whom I think the name is Eram.
Yes.
Oh, wait. I don't know if it's back in the secret board in board 2, but I know that when you use the key, it's like the key was used up, and then you, like, use up your party member.
Yeah.
And then you yourself get used up. And I think maybe after that is when you enter the bunker. Maybe I think that's what you have to do to enter it.
Are you able to, like, open up a white screen on your browser or something to give you a little bit of that extra? That's a little bit better. That's way better.
That's better. But yeah, either way, you access the bunker and you get into a boss fight against Eram, whose whole shtick is flying around the screen and throwing bombs at you and summoning little friends with the pink and yellow eyes.
Friends that have like almost cat-like ears on the top of them, which is relevant when we get to chapter 4.
Who attack you, and you eventually beat Eram and get access to the Shadow Mantle.
Yes.
The Shadow Mantle being an item that is, I don't believe necessary, but very useful when it comes to fighting arguably the actual secret boss of the chapter, which we will get to later.
Yes.
But
Eram's
after doing
fucking
all this,
tough, too.
yeah, Eram
They
is
are
a very
tough.
very tough boss fight, harkening back to kind of like the challenge of the older like Zelda NES games.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Hard even so for the fact that it's one of the only fights that's not fought in the traditional battle sense. It's
Right.
more of a mini game fight. It's not
It's just an
you
entirely
pressing
new
command
form of
and act.
gameplay that like you do it's interesting because like you only, harkening back to like chapter 2 in the punch out minigame, you only ever really do that once before you end up fighting Queen. And as far as I know, I think you can lose against Queen in that fight technically, or is it still a game over if you do?
Are you talking about the last time? I think you can lose in that fight.
I think you can lose a certain amount of times or something like that. So it's kind of interesting how that isn't really too difficult despite you only experiencing that form of combat once. But then you get chapter 3 where a bulk of chapter 3 is that form of gameplay, is that old NES Zelda 1 style, that old 2D kind of era style. And yet Eram is fucking tough. Eram does not fuck around. And
I
he
think
like
a big
laughs
part
at
of
you
the challenge, he does laugh at you. I think a big part of the challenge as well comes from the layout of the room, because there are a lot of walls that you have to go around to try and like hit him. But either way, you beat him, you get the Shadow Mantle, and then you continue on to make it back to the snow-covered area where the Christmas tree and the Dark Fountain is, and that's where we lead into the boss fight with Tenna.
Yes.
Which, if you actually interact with the actions and not just fight him, is this WarioWare style like minigame gauntlet that is so much fun to go through.
Oh, absolutely.
Harkening back to a bunch of like the Guitar Hero style minigame and the
Chef one. We get brand new ones like the Wild West kind of gunman.
Yeah,
thing.
a Wild West shooter style game.
The one where
but
Susie's hanging as a dinosaur and you gotta spin.
Yeah, if you've unlocked the Susie-Zilla minigame.
Yeah.
And eventually
I believe
you beat
it still
him.
shows up there.
Oh, does it?
I believe when we were doing the weird route, it did show up, and I remember it surprised you.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be there.
Because those minigames will show up even if you do regularly fight Tenna. He will force those minigames to happen even if you're playing aggressively. Just not as often.
You get to the end of the fight. Susie goes, "Hey, Tenna.
Don't.
I'm chill like this. Don't... We'll be chill like that. We'll be friends, and you can hang out in Castletown." And just before he gives you the gift...
Oh, also, can you let go of Toriel, please? Because we forgot that he had her.
Yeah.
He had her captured.
So just before he gives you the gift of Toriel and the ability to close the Dark Fountain, he is attacked, and we see what is arguably the real secret boss and the actual final boss of the chapter.
Yes.
The Roaring Knight!
Yes.
That
who has been talked
motherfucker.
Who has been talked about since chapter 1. I don't know if it was called the Roaring Knight back then, but it was the Knight that King Spade talked about.
The original theory was that Chris was in fact the Knight.
Yeah, up until this point, because of Chris making the Dark Fountain in chapter 2, a big chunk of the theories... Yeah. A big chunk of the theories were that Chris was the Roaring Knight. Theories that were quickly proven wrong when the actual Roaring Knight showed up for what was a boss fight so hard to beat that one of the attacks got nerfed.
Yeah, well, you are originally intended to lose the fight, I believe, but eventually if you defeat ERAM, you get the opportunity to not only make the fight a little bit easier, but even the opportunity to restart. And
you can actually restart even if you don't have the Shadow Mantle. If you actually don't take damage for like the first attack and actually make it to like the second attack or the third attack, and then if you die then. I believe when we first tried
to fight the Black Knight, I don't think we had the Shadow Mantle, so it like they kept going. And then that's when we went back. And I believe I remember that because we ended up having to fight Tenna again.
Yeah, what had happened, I collected the Shadow Mantle. I had just forgot to save before
the night.
I think we were going to go get more deluxe cinders or something like that. We had a reason why we needed to reset and reload the save file.
We also needed more of that.
And what I really liked about that day, hold on, I just really want to talk about that. What I really liked about that day was that we had basically been playing Deltarune that entire day. And we had dedicated this entire weekend to it. So we were going to keep playing, but it was getting like really, really late, and I was getting really tired. Goat and Stooge were having a hard time with specifically the Western shooting minigame. And for me, it really, really reminded me of a minigame that's kind of similar to that in like Shrek 2. So like it's like 11 o'clock at night, maybe even 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. I'm like, my meds have hit me. I decide to take the controller and I get the boss fight on like my first try. And I remember because like when I was really frustrated with it and I just wanted to go to bed. And so when I was doing it, I was dead silent and you guys were just kind of like cleaning stuff up. But at some point when it came to the cowboy minigame, you guys both stopped behind me and you just watched me like get this minigame perfect. And all of a sudden I hear Goat goes, dude, she's locked in.
Yeah, I was like, she's locked in.
I was so tired, and I knew I could do it. I was bad at the cooking minigame, the one where you have to jump over the fire and spin. I was really bad at that, but I was good at the other two. So I was like hella locked in with those ones, and it was just funny because I was hearing them walk around behind me, but I heard them both come together and stop to watch me do that minigame.
Yeah,
and it was like, yo.
Whoa.
Oh, man, it was funny.
But
I was so tired, I just needed to be done. I wanted to go to bed. I wanted to go to bed so bad.
Eventually, you either lose to or you defeat the knight, in which a cutscene plays out that has you collect a shard of, if you've beaten the knight, you collect a shard from the knight's sword, and then Undyne shows up to...
Oh, you also get a shadow crystal.
You do get a shadow crystal.
If you beat,
if you win, and then Undyne shows up, who has been called the night prior at the end of chapter 2 because tires have been slashed.
Yes, that's why she's there.
And suddenly the Roaring Knight pulls up and kidnaps Undyne as we chase it down to the shelter, and that's where chapter 3 comes to an end.
Fucking crazy.
We are not... It is such a wild turn of events.
I think, well, one theory that people have, the whole Chris is the knight theory, I would say is dead, but Chris working with the knight isn't exactly, because when you talk to Tenna on one of the secret boards before you enter the bunker, you can see his avatar and he talks to you about how, like, he's like, oh, I did what you asked, you know, like, you're not gonna unplug me again, like, are you, like, and considering that the chapter starts with him saying that the knight told him to keep them occupied, it's implied that Chris either said they were the knight, because while we do see Chris turn on the TV, it's possible there's been a time lapse where Chris said things to the TV that we were unaware of, basically informing Tenna of what was going to happen, like, yeah, I need you to say that you were told to keep us busy by the night, you know, we're gonna try and get through, keep us occupied with games, and that Chris slashed the tires, specifically so Toriel would call the police, so that Undyne would arrive and then be taken to the bunker by the knight.
Yeah.
Kind of what some people believe. Also, when you beat the knight, Susie has like a cool clash with the knight where she chips a piece out of its sword, which becomes the black shard, which is a sword that Chris can use. And when they attack it actually has a smaller version of the massive slashes that
Oh shit.
of the knight. It's the same animation, just like much smaller. But after that, when the knight kind of turns into its ball form and moves away, and then while Susie's like mocking it and laughing at it, 2 slashes happen that insta down Susie and Rousey.
Yeah, and Rousey.
And people have theorized that it was actually Chris that slashed, because the animation seemingly comes from the right side of the screen where Chris is standing.
And we know they're capable of doing 2 slash attacks in one move because of X slash.
Not even just that. We also know that Chris carries a knife on their person, a knife that we are not allowed to use.
And if simple pencils, black knife.
Yeah, and if pencils can become like swords in the Dark World, an actual blade, an actual sword that, or like knife that can cause real damage, would be an item of immense power, because if it's scaled on their lethality as it's perceived by the Lighteners in the Light World, well, a knife is much more deadlier than a pencil. So people theorize that because of how powerful it is, or it would be, he insta down the 2 of them. And the animation that follows shows the knight placing their sword on Chris's shoulder, kind of forcing them to one knee. But in fact, that animation that Chris is doing is titled in the files as like Chris being knighted. As if Chris earned the knight's respect, which tells me that Chris both making a dark fountain, buying time for the knight, and even going so far as to attack their own friends might be the thing that earns the knight's respect. To basically go like, oh, you are like me. You want to pursue my goal. People also theorize that, well, the identity of the knight is big up in the air. There's someone who I think it is, who is the most popular theory for who they are, but I'm curious what you think.
It's this.
I think so. It's got to be
the knight. That's
you've got horns.
It's either Des or Papyrus.
Well, you got the antlers on the top. The fact that when they summon their sword, it kind of looks like a bat at first, which we know that not only in the song "Raise Up Your Bat," but which I think is meant to be about Des and her strength and all that, but also that Des loved sports and loved baseball. 4. And so summoning a baseball bat that then turns into the sword, I think it makes the most sense that Des is the knight. As for how Des became the knight, what process that entailed, and what even their goal is, we don't know. But we also know that Chris had a good relationship with Des and Noelle and the others. Maybe Chris just wants Des to come back. Maybe Chris thinks that doing all this will bring her back to her senses. We don't know. But I think it's pretty confident, pretty solid to say that Chris is either working for the knight, with the knight, or at least has a similar goal in mind. Also, when you talk to Toriel and analyze her or interact with her, when you lose the fight, it says she's sleeping soundly. But if you beat the knight, it says it looks like she's having a nightmare. Now, why else would she think that she's experiencing a nightmare if in her vision she didn't see Chris taking down both someone who looks like his brother, Rousey, and also Susie, who at that point Toriel knows is like one of Chris's only friends that they've made in a while. So I think that it's no far stretch to make that Chris is not the knight, but working with the knight and is in line with whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah. What I find interesting about Chapter 3 is that at the end of Chapter 3, you do not have access to Hometown. You don't have any post-Dark World content.
It just ends, right?
Yeah. Chapter 3 is such a fascinating part of the Deltarune experience to me because of how condensed it all feels in terms of the overall story content, with being starting in the Dark World and having no overworld Hometown content in it, but also being one of the most dense when it comes to the meta narrative and the foreshadowing and the lore that it drops, because there's so much that comes out of it in terms of like ERAM and the Shadow Mantle and the dialogue that people say. It's really, really fascinating.
It's also basically unaffected by the weird route, because while you can follow the weird route into Chapter 3, the only thing that noticeably changes, I think, is a couple of lines of dialogue from ERAM, I think, change.
And
that's about it.
There's also the whole scenario with Spamton that we talked about. That's not there in the weird route.
True. But I'm saying that like weird route exclusive stuff that is, because it's possible to not get that thing with Spamton if you didn't do his fight in Chapter 2. If you don't have either the puppet scarf or the deal maker, he won't show up there. But you're right that scene is also completely absent, regardless of your choice, if you went in the weird route, which makes sense since you don't have access to his items. But yeah, that's basically Chapter 3. Much more condensed, I'd say, than 2.
It starts out really lighthearted, which makes like I'm still always torn between whether or not I like Chapter 3 and 2 the best. But the heaviness and a lot of the lore that comes into Chapter 3, but also how lighthearted it kind of starts out as, and also all the changes it made to the gameplay, makes it stand alone in its own way, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't expect at the beginning, because it opens up with this silly, wacky animation. It has the big, goofy Mr. Tennis sprite.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, what a fun little filler episode. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Holy fuck, Chris is not the knight.
Undyne. Chris isn't the knight. The Roaring Knight's here.
Is Tenna dead?
Yeah. Actually, is Tenna dead? And this question, unless there are any final thoughts on Chapter 3, will lead us into our Chapter 4.
Are there any significant changes, like, with the weird route when you come into Chapter 3? Like, is there anything that may be different that y'all know of?
No, besides, I think, like, 2 lines of dialogue being different when you talk to ERAM before his fight. There's, like, nothing else that changes. I think one of the lines is like, "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" or something, and then there's like another line, and that's about it. But there's little substance for the weird route to be found in Chapter 3. 4 takes this much further, but in a different way.
Chapter 4 opens up with a cutscene of what happened when Chris and Susie went back to the Dark World to get ready to seal the Dark Fountain. And when we wake up on the couch the next morning, it is revealed, depending on how many...
Couch, Stooge looks like he's about to fall asleep. He's like...
You gonna fall asleep there? Depending on if you've recruited enough or like all of the Dark Nurse in Chapter 3 or not, depends on if Tenna is alive or not. Because if you again, spoilers, if you recruit all of the Dark Nurse in Chapter 3, in Chapter 4, Susie explains that she and the Dark Nurse, before closing the Dark Fountain, found Tenna and fixed him up. Whereas in Chapter 4, if you don't recruit enough Dark Nurse, Susie is like, yeah, I tried to look for Tenna, but I couldn't find him, leaving the TV busted. This is another instance where it feels like choices do matter, going against the grain of what is told to you at the beginning of Chapter 1.
And you can have Tenna not be alive in Chapter 4, even if you don't do the weird route. That's what always makes me feel like attacking things in itself is its own route. Because you can still be doing the game through a normal sense, but attack Tenna and attack everything else.
Yeah, I definitely wonder how different the endings will be. But I'm not going to do too much ending speculation because we're still 3 whole chapters away, and if at that point, we'd be here for like 6 hours just speculating on anything.
Yeah, we have a lot of time until the ending comes up and a lot of content that's going to come out to get through. We had breakfast, and we are told that we're going to church, and Susie is allowed to come with us. So we are given our church clothes, and we're taken to church.
This is also where Toriel kind of puts on her Undertale clothes, surprisingly. It's the same symbol and same color.
Yep, I was about to bring this up, because the Deltarune is mentioned in both Deltarune itself and Undertale.
Mm-hmm. Yes. The symbol in Undertale itself is referred to as the Deltarune.
Gerson in Undertale talks about the symbol being the symbol of the Deltarune.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the wings on the thing, some people think that it's meant to be like an angel who's like the savior of the underground, or it's an angel of like death coming to make the underground empty, which again determines whether you're on genocide or pacifist or what you're doing. But here it's different, but there is the legend of the Deltarune.
Yeah, so the church opens up, and Susie's all like, we have to find a way into the bunker, so let's do some investigating. And after doing a little investigating, we discover that Noelle's mother, the mayor of the town, might have some sort of code or key or access to the bunker in her home. And this is where Chapter 4, which is my personal favorite chapter, opens up into two really big sections. Section 1, the first half of the game, is entirely in hometown. I think making up for the fact that we don't have any hometown content at the end of Chapter 3.
Right.
We are invited to Noelle's house for a study session that Susie and us, the player, use as a sort of chance to find a code to the bunker.
Oh, yeah, because we go to Noelle's house. Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, heading to Noelle's house, a lot of stuff happens, and we're going to break it down into some chunks here. But certain aspects of what happened does change depending on if you did the weird route in Chapter 2 or not.
Yes.
So playing through the normal and pacifist routes, you show up, you have a look around. I believe the look around is the same in the weird route as well. And then once you're done looking around, you can finally start the study session, wherein which you, Susie, Noelle, sit on the big couch and get ready to study when Noelle suddenly gets a phone call. So whether you're doing the neutral or pacifist route or the weird route, everything at the start of the house encounter, or like the house set piece, I'll call it, is relatively the same. You go around, you explore, you figure out points of interest, and then you sit on the couch. In the neutral and pacifist route, which is what we'll be starting on, during the study session, Noelle gets a call from Birdley, who is asking her to go to the festival with her, which I believe by this point is tomorrow in the universe of Deltarune.
Yes.
I believe so.
Noelle is like taken aback by this and is kind of like a little flustered, which leads to Susie taking the phone, saying, nah, she doesn't want to go with you, and then tosses the phone aside. This gives us the opportunity to go explore around the house some more, while Susie and Noelle hang out on the couch, talking about Angry Video Game Nerd and Blood Hunters,
Nostalgia
or whatever
Critic.
the game. Yeah.
I think
Noelle
it's Blood
goes like,
Gushers
have you
3.
seen the new JonTron? It's so funny. He talks about Goosebumps.
I really like the episode where he talks about vodka.
Yeah.
My vodka.
My Crystal Skull vodka.
And then Susie goes, I miss him on Game Grumps.
Susie would.
The biggest changes, though, happen while you explore.
Yes. So while you explore in the neutral pacifist route, you eventually lead to going into December's room, which is a room that Noelle initially didn't want us to go into.
Yes.
And as we go in there, we find a guitar, and on the inside of the acoustic guitar is a code that's been written down. but before we can see the full code, that is when Chris removes us from their body and throws us in a box in the storage closet. This is the very first of what I assume to be, there's going to be multiple or maybe more instances later down the line, but this is so far the first and only instance where we have control of as the soul outside of Chris's body in the light world. In Hometown. So we were given access to explore Noelle's house, basically to our heart's content, by solid snaking it through the air vents. With this action, we can see multiple things going on roughly around the same time, such as Chris in the kitchen drinking chocolate milk or playing the piano. We can see Susie and Noelle talking about Blood Gushers 3 and, you know, having a good chill time at their study session.
Yeah.
And we can see Asgore, who is in the house because he works as the, I think, gardener or like the maintenance man for the Noels or the holidays, walking around the house and talking about a mysterious black shard that he has on him.
Yes.
Very concerning, very, very interesting.
In the neutral pacifist route, this leads us to the basement, where we play music, jingle some bells, and shut off the power to the house in order to attract Susie and Noelle down to us, in which we are hidden underneath an angel, like, doll ornament, and picked up and mistaken for a rat.
Oh, shit.
A rat.
A rat.
Oh, shit. A soul.
Many shenanigans and hijinks in regards to that.
So, they take us back up to the main floor, where when we are left alone again, we are given free rein to explore outside of the vents. Oh no, I'm drawing a blank here. What happens next? Because we eventually get back into Chris's body.
Chris plays the piano.
Chris does play the piano, I did mention that. Right, we go back into December's room, where we as the soul intend to go investigate the guitar, only to be stopped by Chris, and we're like in the closet with them.
Well, it's because Noelle and Susie, Susie thinks that, you know, we're taking a while, so she goes to Des's room herself with Noelle, and because Chris is already in there with the soul, he has no choice but to hide in the closet, which then leads to a sort of mini game where they are having dialogue on Des's bed while Chris like bashes the shit out of the soul with like a hockey stick.
Yeah.
And we have to interact with a bunch of weird those classic Santas where their batteries are dying, so they make really hoarse noises as they're going ho ho ho. But you have to like push boxes aside to eventually knock something over to get their attention, enough so that they'll go inspect the closet, where then Chris has to reinsert the soul because otherwise we would be discovered, and that's kind of our way to get back into them.
This is a minor detail, but something I found kind of interesting in December's closet is a green and yellow striped sweater that I think belonged to Azriel, implying some sort of connection.
I've seen a lot about that. I've seen a lot about those two.
That would be interesting, because both Des and Azriel are considered like older siblings, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe they're both older to the others, so maybe they had some kind of connection, some kind of relationship. I'm not sure whether it was friends or otherwise.
Well, it's also explained, too, in the games that Chris and Noelle had a relationship prior to the events of Deltarune that we are witnessing and playing as the player. And we do know that, like, Azriel, December, Chris, and Noelle have hung out and had experiences together.
Because they all used to hang out at Chris's house and watch TV.
Yeah, they watched TV, they hung out during the holidays until something happened. So, yeah, Chris puts the soul back inside the body, and we head on out, only to be met with Asgore chowing down on the snacks that were for the study session, and we meet our first instance of Noelle's mother.
Carol.
Carol Holiday.
I hardly know her. She sucks.
Yeah. I was going to try and be a bit more light about it.
Absolute heel turn in terms of the emotions going on at the time, where it's like, oh, we're having fun, to, oh no, the parent is home.
This is also where we get a reminder that Susie, before she met us, was kind of like a bad girl. Like, she was kind of...
Yeah, like a bit of a delinquent,
yeah. It's a very harsh reminder that she is really not accepted by the community.
Carol is quite imposing, intimidating, very cold in her presentation, and I think that shows as well in the theme that plays with the very slow, ominous jingles of the bells.
Yeah.
As we are kicked out of the Holiday household, but before we continue, we're going to backtrack and talk a little bit about what happens in the Weird Route, because it is very different.
It's very different.
It is very
Even
different.
from the moment you get to the church in the Weird Route, you're, rather than having to go and like speak to Noelle, she actually comes to speak to Susie and basically asks if both you and Susie could go over to her house for like the study session and stuff. So instead of us having to kind of make up the idea, she's very just forward with it. Like,
yeah,
as you also see in the Weird Route, where she'll ask questions kind of not unprompted, but whereas before she might be more shy about that kind of subject matter, it seems like she's become stronger or less scared.
She even outright denies Birdley, right? When or someone calls and she just outright denies them.
I actually don't know if anyone gets called because Birdley isn't able to make the call.
In the Weird Route, it's Carol who ends up calling Noelle, talking about how she'll get home early.
I could have sworn that she does something. And like in the normal or pacifist route, she's very hesitant, but in the Weird Route, she's very like matter of fact about what she wants in that moment.
She does do something.
Yeah.
Well,
when she initially invites you over? Is she very much like, let's go? That might be it.
Yeah, well, I know when she invites you over. Even Susie makes a comment about it, like, she's a lot more confident, I guess this is some kind of weird route.
Yeah, I know things took a bit of a weird route back there, but and then everyone collectively spat out their drinks and said, Toby.
And then Susie pops up straight at the camera and says, don't forget.
Yeah, she goes, don't forget.
Front-facing Susie.
Well, most of the first part is similar, where you get up, you go to Jess's room, you check out the guitar, you get your soul ripped out, but then after tossing it in,
you go into a box. As you step out of the December's room, Noelle goes, Chris, can I talk to you in my room for a second? And you are shoved into a drawer on the second floor.
Yeah, and so Chris is now in there, and instead of being put in a box, you're in the drawer. You very easily push the drawer open and then leave, and you can go back through the vent just like you do normally.
Yep, you go through the vent until you find the one that leads to Noelle's room. And one of my favorite...
Can you get to that area normally? Like, is that part of the vent even available in the regular route?
Yeah, in the regular route, you can access that part of the vent. There's just no reason to, because no one's in the room at the time. What I find really interesting and really cool about this scene is the use of the dialogue box, not just as a form of showing us the player the text that's going on, but also as a form of
control and spatial manipulation.
Yeah, actually in the game itself.
Because it seems like, in the logic of the video game, and thus the logic of their world, Chris and the soul are two separate beings. Someone can ask Chris a question, as long as the soul is not present or within, I guess, range, Chris can make a response on their own. But as soon as you enter the same screen as Chris, when Noelle then prompts a question to Chris, rather than Chris even being given the option to respond, just the presence of us being on the same screen forces a dialogue box in which we can either...
We literally get moved. We get moved from the vent into the box, which allows us to enter Chris.
Yeah, because the soul, like, is used to select different options, if you select, like, the option on the left, when the box goes away, because your soul isn't in Chris, it will actually, like, basically act as a teleport outside, whereas if you press the other one, it, I think, ends the route or whatever. One of the many triggers you can use to just instantly end the weird route. There's
so end the route there.
So many times where the game's like, stop using the soul, using the dialogue box, escapes. And if you wait for like a little bit, just kind of hovering around regardless of where you are, Chris will actually intervene if you don't enter them fast enough. Chris will grab Noelle's arm and like run with her out of the room, and you can't enter him. And when he's like running, you can actually see like his teeth, like he's almost like gritting his teeth, like he's scared as he grabs Noelle's arm and runs out of the room. One of the like only times that his face ever displays an emotion is him getting her out of there. And if you go to the door will like slam open and he'll like knock you down and then them. They'll knock you down, and I don't think you can repeat that thing, because I believe after that Carol comes home and they put you back inside. But the normal way you do it is you just move up to where Chris is on the couch, and then just by
entering
touching
Chris's
them,
body,
and you're back in.
That proceeds with the weird route, because Noelle hears the strange voice again, and it's one of the most messed up moments in the game.
Unsettling moments in the entire game, for sure.
Noelle like confirms that in between like the days, as the days went over during the night between after 3 before 4. Chris, without the soul, presumably, goes and removes the thorn ring from her finger and basically tells her this was all a joke, it's all a dream, none of this is real, didn't mean anything, trying to undo our efforts desperately for whatever it is we're trying to do. And she even says like, oh, like you say that we shouldn't, you don't want to like talk about this because he didn't. I should say, Chris doesn't want Noelle to even speak of this.
Yeah,
but because they respect her.
They want the soul to know.
Yeah, and so Noelle's like, well, who's going to hear? And it's like, the soul will hear. Mm-hmm. We will hear.
Do you think Chris knew when we came into the room? When we entered through the vents?
Totally think so.
Chris knows because if you use the option to be inside the room with them and wait for a few seconds, Chris will grab Noelle and then run out of the room.
Oh, yeah.
But if you press the other option and stay in the vent, then it just cancels the whole like weird route thing, because it's like the diffuse option.
We re-enter Chris's body and reinsert the thorn ring onto Noelle's finger in a very messed up cutscene that actually had to get changed from its first update because of the implications that were there that Toby Fox wasn't aware of. Mm-hmm. With the original image of that being of one where it was a red flower being depedaled until its last one remained.
Yes.
Which was then changed to a red heart with like red thorny vines or like ropes suddenly like shooting out from it.
Like cracking out of it.
And I understand the change was very necessary.
Oh yeah.
But
because even like when I was watching it, I could 100% understand why people came to the conclusion that they did.
Yeah.
And that's not because I thought it was intentional on Toby Fox's part, but just because knowing what the original animation was. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally think it was just Toby Fox, like, not realizing the original or, like, the more common implications of what that symbolism sort of meant.
Yes.
And it was just supposed to convey a sort of, like, loss of innocence to the like weird route and like this whole like destruction of the friendship that we're forming cracks in. So that all plays out, and then after that we are kicked out of the holiday household where while we are leaving, it begins to rain. Twilight.
Oh, I will say that scene with the heart and Noelle is probably the most terrifying, one of the scariest things that I've seen. Like, definitely the scariest in the game as it stands, where it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. What have I done, kind of.
Yeah.
And the music like speeds up.
Not
like,
to
each
mention
second.
Chris's reaction once we do equip the ring back on her, where they take us.
The reaction is something that I would love to talk about, but I'm just kind of like skipping over for the sake of time, and also because I feel like anyone who is going into it blind and doing the weird route really needs to experience that moment on their own.
Absolutely.
Chris's reaction to it, I think, is like, if you haven't gotten the hints yet from Chapter 1, Chapter 2, the ending of Chapter 2, like, by this point, I think it's made very clear that Chris is their own person and the soul is their own entity that have two different agendas. And the weird route, or at least what happens in Chapter 4 with the weird route, culminates into, like, this whole destructive, not conclusion, but, like, rising action to what happens when our agendas aren't aligning, and what has happened with all of the agency that we've been taken from Chris.
Definitely. It's a wild ride.
Especially since, again, the beginning of Chapter 1 is telling us that we don't have a choice, and while the pacifist route seems to be almost, like, with the things that Chris is doing around Chapter 3, and, like, the fact that they get knighted and all of that, it almost makes me wonder if eventually the "your choices don't matter" will actually be speaking to the soul, and that Chris will start making decisions on their own, and that there's nothing that we can do about it, because clearly Chris knows things that even the soul doesn't. But now with the weird route, it's going the opposite direction, where Chris doesn't have a choice. Chris doesn't have a choice, and we're the ones making the decisions. We're the ones influencing Noelle, or getting Birdley put into a freezing coma, whatever's wrong with him.
Very interesting, like, inverse of the whole thing.
Yeah, so it starts to rain, and we end up heading to the church because we need the key to go back home because the door's locked. Only when we get to the church, we find that we find that the church has been turned into a dark fountain. And this is where the second half of Chapter 4 begins, in the Dark World. We enter the Dark World, which is this beautiful, like, dark church motif, with this like, angelic music, sort of. And as we're going through, we are met with the old man, who, if you've played Undertale, it's Gerson. Everybody knows it's Gerson. And he's old. As we go through, we play piano, and we learn about a super powerful axe weapon. This kind of leads into
and we play
the
first four notes of Megalovania.
We do play the first four notes of Megalovania. And the axe and the whole side quest of the axe, I know, like, talking about this is kind of skipping over Jackenstein and getting the climbing gear and how that shakes up the gameplay and stuff. Eventually we do get to the chapter's secret boss, who ends up being Gerson Boom himself. And in my opinion, this secret boss is probably the most fun boss fight in the entire game.
Gerson is awesome. Just in the vibe, the track, the way that you fight him. Gerson is iconic. Yeah,
with the green soul, it's very...
It's also interesting to have a super boss that isn't necessarily trying to kill us. Because Jebel gives us a game over, Spampton does... Black Knife or the Roaring Knight is we're supposed to lose, but Gerson has a shadow crystal, but isn't out to get us. which really goes to show his power too.
And something else about this boss fight is it revolves around Susie. But to be fair, a lot of this chapter is very Susie centric.
Absolutely.
I think as the game continues on, because in the beginning, in chapter 1, Susie is very much like, I'm a bully, I'm in my shell kind of thing. But as it goes on, I feel like her writing especially gets so much better, so much more in depth, and we get way more layers to her character.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the Gerson boss fight is this one-on-one between Gerson and Susie, where all she has to do is cut off like a piece of Gerson's hair, and she wins the fight. Yeah, it's just a really fun boss fight. But something I want to talk about is the song that plays, the boss fight music, Hammer of Justice. The freedom motif in Hammer of Justice is actually incomplete.
Mm-hmm. It's very subtle.
And I think that's super interesting. And I like to interpret that as Gerson never looked through the shadow crystal. I think he even says that himself, right? Like somebody gave him the shadow crystal. I think it was the Roaring Knight that did it.
He didn't. He's not sure how it got on like his desk, but he never used it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he gives it to you.
And I interpret this as Gerson is the freedom, or like the theme of freedom around his boss fight is like true freedom. Like he is free from the story. Because he talks about how the story can be reinterpreted and changed, right? Gerson in the light world is already, like, he is dead, so he's actually found his peace. He's found true freedom and doesn't need the shadow crystal to.
Can I bring up another thing that Gerson gives us?
Sure.
He basically tells us what the area of like the next chapter may be, which is the field of gold and pink.
Yes, he implies.
Which, again, the more pink and gold, more pink and yellow, more.
This also may mean that because we know that Asgore has a piece of the shadow crystal, I feel like that heavily implies that not only will the next chapter kind of give us more of an in-depth look at the friend inside us, or like the
device _ friend.
Yes, but I also believe that we'll be able to figure out Asgore's role in all of this, because as we know, he's like the Flower King. He runs the florist shop.
Yeah.
He seems to have some sort of knowledge about what may be going on, or what may have even happened to kind of split everybody apart. But, you know, if the theme is going to be a field of gold and pink, a field of potentially flowers.
Yeah, gold and pink flowers.
And we know that he used to have gold and yellow flowers in Undertale. That was his whole thing.
I theorize that Asgore actually knows about the Dark World, and that's why he was kicked off the Force, was that because Des, Noel, Azrael, and Chris all went out somewhere at some point, because there you can find a place in one of the secret rooms, I think one of the secret egg rooms, where they talk about Chris wanting to draw something, the thing he saw behind the tree, but he always finds that he's covering it up with the tree, that he saw something or someone. And it's like, what is it? They went to the place, the children went to the place where trees should have been, or trees would have been. I think they went out to the forest one time, maybe around the bunker, or somewhere deep in the forest, in the dark. And I don't know if it was Friend or someone else that was out there, but I think Asgore went to find them. And I think Des got lost in the Dark World is what I'm thinking. Because I think the reason
Girl?
Yeah, Lost Girl. Who you're not supposed to forget about, but it seems like everyone else has. They've all moved on. And I think Asgore somehow knows about the Dark World. Maybe he was there or saw it, and the reason he was removed from the Force was because no one believed him. No one would believe such an absurd idea that there's a dark world with magic and fantasy and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. And so I think that's how he lost his job, or was kind of forced to step down from his role as being the chief of police. Probably also because it's like, what is it? The Flower King in an asylum is one of the prophecy words or sentences. People think he's crazy. They probably think that he made all this up because he just couldn't find Des, which I don't know if Carol lets him clean their house. So I don't know if she holds like a dislike against him for what happened, but I also think Carol probably knows more than she lets on.
I think that she also knows something, and she may be I feel like that she's not like into Asgore, but the vibe that I get is that maybe he's blamed in some way because he's always saying things like, "I'll let them know how it happened. They'll know the truth."
Yeah.
And like, well, and Toriel keeps trying to distance herself from him, and like is trying to be only like, what's the word? Cordial or something like that, like passive for Asriel's sake when he returns. But you know, he's muttering things like they'll all see what happened. And considering Des is called the lost girl, like that's the whole motif, and that he lost his job when it happened, I bet some people in the townsfolk even believe that he's responsible in some way.
I theorize that Asgore will, during the festival...
Do we think Asgore's gonna open the next fountain?
I think he might open a fountain.
I think he might. Because everyone's going to be together.
Everyone will be all in the festival, and I think he'll either open a fountain just in the open, which would turn all of the town into one, or he'll hold an event at his flower shop and then make the fountain inside the flower shop, so people will go there and they'll enter the dark world unintentionally, and they will see that he's not crazy.
Some people theorize that Noelle actually might open the next fountain.
Could be.
That could be interesting.
It could be. I mean, from what it looks like, one thing that we see throughout Chapter 4 is this red dot. Because there's a part where we can stop and think about something while Susie's doing a puzzle.
We will get to that.
We will. So you were on Gerson. I just kind of went around with that.
So yeah, that's the secret boss's Gerson, where when you win, you get the Shadow Crystal and a new axe for Susie.
The Justice Axe.
As you keep going through the dark world of this chapter, the prophecy that Ralsei had told us in the beginning of Chapter 1 begins to... we get more detail about it, and it begins to slowly become a little more recontextualized and understood a lot better for us, although it's still very vague in many regards.
Yeah.
Eventually we get to a point where we have to get a music sheet for a giant organ piano to like open a door, and that is when we are given the option to think about Susie and see what she's doing, or think about some other characters. And exclusively for the weird route, you are given the ability to think about Noelle.
You can also think about the knight as well.
You can think about the knight. However, when you do that option, before you get to see who the knight is, as they take their helmet off, it switches over to a scene of Jockington.
Which, that tells me that Chris is doing that on purpose, because I think Chris might know who the knight is, and for whatever reason wants to maintain their secret identity, so forces themselves to think about something that isn't the knight, thus turning it into kind of a joke. But I think that is Chris purposely trying to obscure the knight's identity. But if you think about Noelle, as you were saying, I forget how that scene starts. You think of Noelle,
it's just kind of a black screen,
box?
And I think she thanks you or something like that. And
you
says,
fade
like,
to a
I'm
black
getting
screen,
stronger.
and you start to see a small red pixel appear as a text box comes up, and Noelle says to you in a shaky voice, "Thank you." As the red dot slowly grows bigger and into a more heart-looking shape. Before we are shunted back, and Susie has the music.
So, is the theory... Sorry to skip ahead, but this is only because of, like, my head. Is the theory that she is getting the soul or growing a soul? Because so far, we're the only soul that's, like, around, right? It even happens in the fight with Gerson that when you're fighting as Susie, the heart comes from the side.
I think that what the soul made us do is put... Because here's an interesting thing. The Thorn Ring makes you bleed. I don't know if monsters can... Well, actually, no, monsters can bleed. Susie bleeds.
Yeah,
okay,
Susie
so that's not a human thing. I think that what we did in the Weird Route is we took a piece of our soul and put it either on the Thorn Ring or inside of Noelle. And... that is going to grow into another soul. I don't think we'll have two, but the point is it will grow enough where we can control Noelle separately because we can't remove the soul from Chris. Only Chris can take us out of the body. We are free once that happens, but Chris would never lose track of us on purpose. But we need someone else to help. We don't have true freedom as long as we're inside Chris. I think what we're doing is creating a separate soul inside of Noelle, taking control of her, and then finding a way to reunite the other piece out of Chris. Because at that point, with Noelle with the thorn ring, she'd be stuck in a trance and would be basically a puppet that we could control completely under our will, who has the strongest magical abilities of anyone. And if we could, or I guess, the soul could take it from Chris and reunite it, they will be completely free inside the body of an extremely powerful and yet completely controllable entity that could just wipe the floor with anything and do whatever we want. I think we are assuming direct control of her, putting her in a permanent trance where she will be our puppet to fulfill the prophecy or whatever it is, the roaring something.
Horse.
Man.
Horse.
We are taking our best childhood friend and destroying her agency as a human being or a monster or whatever. We'll just say human.
Man.
And doing that for some purpose.
Kind of makes me not want to do the weird rat anymore.
That's so fucking weird.
We're only 4 chapters in. I can't imagine the fact that she is already thanking us for this.
Holy fuck, yeah,
like,
I hate it.
What is going
to
to happen? What is chapter 5 going to contain? But let's get back to this because we could talk forever.
So
I think that came into the
That's my theory. Though.
I think
I'm
I
see if
heard
I'm
that,
right.
yeah. So we continue to go through the church, and we finally find the dark fountain and seal it, only to learn that there is a second dark fountain behind a locked door. Looking for the code, we find the ashes of, or like the dust of Gerson in Alvin's desk in one of the rooms of the church. This implies or explains or recontextualizes from chapter 2 when we see Alvin at the grave in Hometown, that Alvin, between the events of chapter 2 and chapter 4, dug up Gerson's dust and brought it into the church. Which makes me think Alvin in some capacity is in on the whole Dark World thing.
It could be maybe that Asgore discovered it and then maybe tried to explain to everyone.
Could that not just be a form of, like, getting your person's ashes?
Okay, but digging it up specifically seems like a weird thing to do when it was buried. What's the point? If it was there for years, what's the point of digging it up now at this specific time? That just so happens to be in a place where a dark fountain is then created.
I thought they just had it because, like, you know, you get
there's actually a book in the library that specifies that monsters are, when they die, they turn to dust, and that dust is, judging by the snow globe looking thing, which, funny how the thing that contains a monster's essence is like a snow globe almost, considering the whole cold analogy. But it's like a snow globe where they
What's that mean, Toby? What's that mean, Toby?
Yeah.
What is it with you in winter? See? This is why I always say that winter sucks. Because you want to know what's killing
really
everything? Snow.
Really
you want to know what kills these fucking people? Ice and snow. I don't give a fuck if there's bugs in the summer, okay? You know what's not killing monsters in Deltarune? Bugs.
Bugs.
But they take an item that was an item that was precious to that previous owner, in this case the hammer, and then they put it in, like, I think let's just say snow globe or whatever, and then they put the dust on it and they seal it. So, and then they bury it, and that's like a monster burial.
Yeah, if you talk to Alvin in chapter 2, he even says, like, oh, Gerson, my father is buried here. Yeah. So he totally dug that grave up.
Oh, absolutely. And the convert's all but confirmed in the library where you read up on, like, monster burials and all that. So you see that and it's like, oh shit, I know that.
Eventually you do find the code for the locked door and you get into the other part of the church.
Which also has a dark fountain.
Which has another dark fountain.
which implies that multiple dark fountains can be made that stretch as far as the doors to the room. It is interesting that dark fountain in the front hallway also consisted of items in the other rooms, but not the main hall. Oh no, it did! The main hall was locked, and you couldn't get through there unless you opened the padlock in the light world. Okay, so that, yeah.
In the second dark fountain, you get a confrontation with the Roaring Knight. In which they take their sword, plunge it into the ground, creating another dark fountain.
What the fuck?
Summoning the final boss of this chapter, a literal fucking titan.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the Pillar of Darkness turns to stone, interestingly enough, but then that stone breaks open and there's the titan laying inside.
So the whole concept of this fight is you climb up to reach like a high point where you can see the titan, and as it appears, interestingly, the silhouette for it looks almost human.
Yes.
I don't know if that means that humans are titans, but admittedly the only human we've seen is Chris. Everyone else is a monster, so I don't know what that means for titans.
It also has like the plus in its attacks and on its face.
Yeah,
that are very
that
similar
symbol,
to the save point.
Yeah, it looks just like the save points, which I'm pretty sure, once again, Chris is the only one that can see save points, or the soul can, because I think it's, when you interact with the first save point in the game, just like, or I don't know if it's just like an Undertale, but it's like, this is the light that only you can see. Yeah. And it's the light that you use to save your game. So that being like the face or mask almost of the titan is just adds another layer of just like, what is this?
As the fight goes on, with the help of Gerson, who shows up at the end to help you defeat the titan, and with Susie's idea, you plunge into the heart of the titan, using the soul to destroy it from the inside out.
Yeah, like you would seal a dark fountain.
We seal this dark fountain, and finally, we step out into the hometown. It's midnight. The music starts to set in as it continues to rain. And for the first time in the whole of this adventure, we, the player, Susie even comments on this, are hit with the reality of how serious the situation is.
Yeah, because a lot of the original chapters have been just kind of like, let's close the fountain and make new friends and save the day. But now we actually know kind of what's behind these dark fountains, or what could potentially be behind more darkness. Like, it's the first time that it really settles in that we're not just three legends of a fun little prophecy going on little adventures and, you know, fighting some pretty difficult enemies, but overall rejoicing and being victorious, you know, like, or helping them discover the truth of things, like helping Jevil, you know, kind of gets real freedom by becoming an item, or helping Spamton kind of like get some closure with his thing, right? Like, we go around helping people and sealing fountains and working with Rouse and going on these adventures. And, you know, we heard about the Titan, but it was kind of like another dark fountain. Well, we don't want to do that. And then...
yeah, we should get rid of it. And then here in Chapter 4, we're actually hit with the weight of what happens if dark fountains are made inside of dark fountains. We are hit with the severity of, like, what a Titan can be and how powerful a force it really is.
We're also at this moment no closer to opening the bunker, because we have none of the 3 codes needed. The one code that we almost had, that we might be able to kind of guess the rest of it, is still beyond our reach because it's in Noelle's home. So we've got 0 out of 3 codes, and things are now more serious. So despite us going through all that, we are nowhere closer to getting into the bunker.
No.
As you walk your way back home in the game, you can take a chance to go back to the lake where Onion Sand usually is, and you can have a nice little moment with Susie there, just reflecting and reminiscing. But during this trek through hometown at midnight is where one of my personal favorite tracks in the game plays. The Place Where It Rained. The Place Where It Rained basically takes what is essentially a lot of the backing track for It's Raining Somewhere Else from Undertale and makes that the forefront of the music. It's such a strong, in my opinion, emotional piece that really helps you understand the weight of what is happening in this world and really realize the conspiracy of the Roaring Night and like what could happen if these titans are set free. As you walk back, as you're hit with this guttural feeling in your chest, you find that the lights to your house are on. And when you and Susie walk in, Toriel is dancing the jitterbug with Sans.
Oh man, that scene in itself has so many layers to it that now when I think about it, I just get uncomfortable.
That is the thing about it, is like out of context, it's like hilarious, but realizing you're coming from a place of like, oh, I've failed, I've come so far, so much is at stake, and I'm no closer to this.
One step forward,
and then seeing that also Sans did in fact befriend our mom as he said that he did. So
yeah.
Also, like, not
is
only is
very
Toriel
wine
drunk, yeah, she's drunk. She didn't even really know where we went.
No.
Like when we leave, we find out that choir practice was canceled because of the rain. And it's like she doesn't call us or anything. She just went right home.
It's kind of concerning because while it is like really funny, it's also like, is this right? That she's like hanging out with the skeletal clerk that runs the store.
Yeah.
Sex my Deltarune? I can't fucking believe it.
Because like at first it's like, like Asgore's, it's kind of awkward, and now it's like, oh, is Asgore just completely misunderstood? Was Asgore gaslit about the fact that Dark Worlds exist? Lost his job and has now lost his wife to like a skeleton.
Yeah, no, there is a lot of like stuff going on there, from like Toriel being wine drunk, Toriel not really like, she I think is doing her best, but she is not the greatest mom in the world.
Oh yeah, well it's especially weird because this is an interesting contrast to how she's been perceived in the other 3 chapters, where she's been pretty fine. Like everything has seemed good. Nothing's really been off about any of this.
One of my favorite little details of that scene is like when you walk in and like the camera pans over to show that she's like dancing with Sans and is all like wine drunk. Susie's face kind of darkens a little.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on with her home life? I wonder if that's something that will be explored in chapter.
Well, we may have gotten a look
onward.
at what her home looked like.
Yeah, well, there was that one room that had the single chair and like the poster of like the Godzilla-esque looking monster, which could very well be where Susie got the idea for Susie-Zilla. And the room also, I think, has purple tones to it, so I think it's safe to assume that that might be her room. As for whether she even has parents, I don't know. I really don't know. Again, there's still so much that could be explained, even in all that we've talked about.
Yeah, so Chris ends up heading off to bed for the night, where the story, for now, ends, but not before hitting us with one of 2 possible alternate cutscenes, depending on which route you're doing. But yeah, we're met with one of 2 final possible cutscenes, where either in the neutral or pacifist route, Chris is having a hard time going to sleep because of jokes and like the drum like cymbal crash kind of thing.
Yeah, Sans is making jokes, and then an audible sound will play.
Yeah,
and you just hear the text sounds of just Toriel, and then Sans, and then Sans will speak again, and you'll hear like a fucking rim, the rim job sound effect.
Yeah.
From like comedies and stuff like that, where it's like doo-doo-ch.
But then
and then she'll laugh and she'll talk, and he's having none of it.
But then Susie's voice cuts in as she mentions to Chris through the window about like the prophecy and how it's not going to come true or how they're going to change it. And then in the weird route, the same thing happens with the silly, goofy dialogue and the rim shot. Only
I don't
this
like
time,
that it's called that. I don't like that it's called a rim shot.
Yeah,
because you hit the rim of the cymbal,
Yeah.
so you go good.
Yeah.
the noises are interrupted by, in the weird route, the sound of a phone ringing. And as you answer it, a voice on the other side goes, "Don't forget, you will go with Noelle to the festival tomorrow."
It also, I believe, mentions a sacrifice.
That's what makes people believe that Noelle's going to be the one to open the fountain, because people think that Rudy's going to have a heart attack.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they think that he's going to step out because he has like declining health, and he's clearly not being as honest about the difficulties that he's having with Noelle. So people theorize that he's when everyone's at the festival and everyone's talking, he's going to start having a heart attack, and then Noelle's going to be like, you know, he'll be fine if he goes into the dark world, right? Because it might, like, maybe she finds out about Gerson and all of that from Susie, and that's when she creates the dark fountain at the parade to save her father.
I can see something like that happening.
If it's not Asgore, it's going to be Noelle. Because, like, Chris has done it, Susie has done it, and we know Rousey obviously can't, so that just leaves the rest of the Lightners that have been there.
I think no matter who opens the Dark Fountain, I think the next chapter is going to have the Dark Fountain take place in the Flower King shop, because from chapter 2 onwards, you can't really access the interior of the shop.
You're right, yeah.
At all.
But we know there's a back door that leads out into, like, a forest or something.
But, yeah, that is the experience of Deltarune up to this point.
Deltarune.
Who knows what's going to happen in
Deltarune.
Chapter 5? Who knows what's going to happen?
Oh my god.
I don't know. I'm not sure what else to talk about. I feel like going through it step by step, chapter by chapter, does let us kind of go through everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be doing this.
sorta.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this again next year when chapter 6 releases. where we'll
Without
kind
a
of-
If it
doubt.
releases.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
I
no,
wouldn't
I
be
think it will.
surprised. I joked about this because, like, I guess we can talk more about it. I think when you beat chapter 4, you get like a little teaser that says 2026 for chapter 6, and I just have a feeling that if it gets delayed to 2027, he's gonna put in an update just to change that screen.
That'd be kind of funny, honestly. But no, I think it's gonna come out in 2026, like it's planned.
It would be nice to, because he, like, you know, I want more Deltarune in my life.
Well, if it does
I
come
do
out,
too.
I agree. If it comes out in 2026, then we'll almost certainly be talking about it not long after with everything else.
Absolutely.
So I was gonna say I don't think I have any more points to talk about. I kind of
We kind of glossed over the game. We sort of like touched upon the music. We touched upon the theories. If there's any other like final thoughts that we have going on, like
I know
Starla.
that I've definitely become way more entranced with this game from chapters 3 and 4. You know, like 1 was kind of okay, 2 really got me into the characters, and I, you know, as some people know, I really fixated on Spampton from chapter 2, but I feel like chapter 3 and 4 has really put it in a league of its own. I cannot wait for the upgrades and stuff that we get in chapters like 5, 6, and 7 and all of that. I think it's a phenomenal game. And you know, as of now, I do think it is a more enjoyable gameplay experience than Undertale.
Without a doubt, I completely agree with you there.
I also, but at the same time, at the same time, I do believe that you need to experience Undertale before you go into Deltarune. I feel like if you go into Deltarune without knowledge on at least like the characters and kind of what they go through, I feel like you're doing the game a huge disservice. I also feel like you may not understand the impact of everything as well if you don't play Undertale first.
I would say playing Undertale, though not necessarily a requirement, is heavily recommended.
Absolutely.
If you want to get into Deltarune.
I would say dive into Undertale, fall in love with it, and dive into it, peel back the layers, and then once you feel like you've done everything you want to, when you know everything that you want to know, then dive into Deltarune, and then... Because it also makes you appreciate the upgrades, too, the improvements. Like the battle system, the introduction of TP, spells, grazing bullets, multiple party members...
the shake-ups to the gameplay and the overworld as well.
Multiple party members acting... even in chapter 3, when in the opening they showcase multiple characters talking passively in dialogue, having like one person talk and having like even 2 other characters have responses within that dialogue box, or instead of just being always the same text like on screen. There's so many more layers to every aspect, from the dialogue to how many characters can talk.
To the gameplay, like the Zelda style,
especially,
like chapter 3 Zelda style boards, or like the chapter 4 with the climbing. It's super cool, super fascinating. I've heard a handful of people be like, once the full game is out, it has the potential to be a genre-defining game, like how Chrono Trigger was. Absolutely. Or how, like... I completely agree.
I think so. Considering just how obsessed that, like, we all are, even just 4 chapters in, 4 out of 7... Like, I can't imagine that Chapter 7 releases and the game would lose points for that. Like, part of this has been the journey of discovering theories, and theories being proven right or proven wrong, and part of that mystery, I think, will be lost when the full thing is released, but it's the journey, not the destination. It taking so long to release has given so much time for this stuff to kind of grow in a way that a single release wouldn't.
Speaking of the journey, something I want to like bring up as like maybe one of my last points before we close things out here is the idea of existing in a world post Chapter 7 Deltarune. Because right now, and it's something that like I feel like has been a constant theme, even though we haven't brought it up like verbatim.
It's the what ifs.
But it's the zeitgeist of the culture around Deltarune right now, right? Like a big chunk of the game for me. And I'm not saying you don't have to be part of the community, or you don't have to be active in the online spaces to enjoy the game. You can totally enjoy the game on its own, and I know there will be people, once the full game comes out, who will have never experienced this stuff before, who will be playing it as a complete package for the first time ever.
Yeah, that's...
But at the same time, Undertale was not really a complete package.
Arguably.
Gaster?
Sure, yeah.
Chara?
But, like, Undertale, you can enjoy Undertale without knowing Gaster or Kara.
Yeah, but that depends on what fun value you get when you first start up the game.
Yeah, well, I think what they mean to say is that...
It's discussions like that kind of keep the game alive in its own sense after you complete both the genocide and pacifist runs, is the wonders of like Sans and what's her name? Not Undyne, but her girlfriend. Alphys, thank you. Like, what kind of history did Sans and Alphys has? We don't get like a complete answer for that. Who was Gaster and all of these little gray guys? We don't really get a complete answer for that. Like, there's one of the journal files in the lab that you can't really access properly. I think it's 17, entry 17 you can't access. You know, like there's little things about Undertale that is still a mystery, and either will be solved with Deltarune, will be solved in some sort of future live stream, or won't ever be solved. So like there could still be little things in Deltarune that, you know, that don't get answered in Chapter 7 or are brought up in Chapter 7 and aren't resolved, to kind of keep that wonder of like the lore and all of that for when the game is beat. That's kind of what keeps you talking about them. It's a good gaming strategy.
Yeah, at the same time, there's this emotion about it where one thing Rouse says to Susie is like, you know, it's what is it? It's like it's fun to like make, you know, be make believe and all that, but at the end of the day, you know, Queen is a laptop, Lancer is like the ace of spades. Like, it's almost equivalent in a way to like childhood of like, it's fun to make believe, but eventually all this dark world stuff, it will go away almost. I don't know if it actually will, but it kind of feels like it's kind of building that, like, oh, all this imagination adventuring is fun, but at the end of the day, you know, sometimes you got to grow up and leave some things behind. But I kind of hope that's not what it's building to, because I do like the idea of like, It's a realist idea of like, you really can't. The Dark World is fun and all, but at the end of the day, Spade King was always kind of destined to be left behind in the others. I mean, unless someone else would come along, they'd play with the cards, they'd do all that stuff, but you're not the first, you won't be the last, but eventually everyone does move on. Eventually everything, hopefully once lost, will be found. Everything once remembered may at some point be forgotten. There's kind of, I think, a meta context of that, where even the fandom is in a state of it's transient. We're making new stuff. We're seeing new stuff as chapters are released, as hints are released, as PNGs are put out by Toby Fox. But at some point, that will come to an end, where once all 7 chapters are released, there will always still be some mysteries. But to be here in the present, in that moment, where stuff is being made, where theories are being built, there will come a time where that will have passed. But it's about the journey, not the destination. That's why we should enjoy all of this stuff, consume all of this content now, because someday someone will come along and they'll play these games without any of that context. And then we'll be a bunch of old farts and we'll be like, I remember back in my day when Deltarune had only 1 chapter.
I remember when Chris was the knight.
Inside me.
For what?
I'll be like, don't forget.
Don't forget. And it's like we didn't forget that the show's over, and you'll be like, actually,
it's not.
You forgot. I remember I was on the Reddit thread. Everyone downvoted you.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It's an exciting time to be around right now. That's something I want to touch upon as we close out. It's an exciting time right now, and I think even though, once it's in its final state, once Chapter 7 comes out, I believe the game will be genre-defining. I already think in its own right, Undertale, Deltarune especially, is already such a defining piece of media for this industry, and it's so creative and inspiring. Without Deltarune chapters 3 and 4, I wouldn't have gotten into pixel art as seriously as I did. So
yeah, and even before that, when Undertale came out, a lot of people were inspired by that with the new concepts that it brought up. Everything that comes out is making new fans, making new changes.
But with that, and one other thing that was so inspired, and I just gotta know, when are you gonna play Undertale Yellow?
Was that for me, or was that for Starla?
That's for Starla. I think we can cut the episode. I think it'd be funny if we use that to cut the episode.
Hey, see you next time!